DC Tyrant. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326. Don't kill me. I heard. You come, you conquer? Badi leaned his back against the diamond throne, his arms casually resting on the handles. Although he was sitting, he still gave people a condescending and teasing look. The power that was enough to destroy the galaxy and the universe burst out from his body, twisting the magnetic field, and the light twisted the nearby space strangely, all showing a terrifying power. Chaoba's body trembled, and his neck immediately stiffened. His body seemed to feel that he was frightened by Badi's teasing words and couldn't move. His face became more and more weak and pale under the sun, and beads of sweat permeated his forehead. His heart was running and jumping more and more wildly and excitedly. It was the blood beating with extreme fear, which stimulated his body to stiffen. The sun was his fatal weakness, which made his body weak. In addition, Badi brought huge pressure. Under the double pressure of mind and body, it was simply crazy. He wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy from Badi. Although his willpower was extremely weak, he had been high and mighty on Earth 3 for many years, and he could not let go of his domineering and ruling spirit for a while. He could not save face, so he could only respond in fear. You heard it wrong. Chaoba faced the sun and uttered a sentence with great difficulty. His face was slowly covered with sweat and pale due to weakness. The atmosphere suddenly became as quiet as death. Time seemed to stop at this moment. Little Hera was lying on the other side, with two straight white legs crossed, enjoying a mixed fruit juice. She was about to watch the show, but she was caught off guard by what Chaoba said. She arched her body from the recliner and jumped up, spraying a mouthful of juice into the air, forming a grey-black juice mist. What did you say? Little Hera opened her cherry mouth, unable to believe it. Just now, Superba and his group were still holding their heads high, walking out with extraordinary momentum, like a demon's huge body, and boasting that I will conquer. Did I hear it wrong now? Little Hera almost suspected that there was something wrong with her ears. She thought there would be a big battle, so she moved her original position several thousand meters back to watch the show. Did I hear it wrong now? The girls next to Little Hera couldn't help but cover their mouths and smile. Badi was too bad to scare the visitors from another world like this. Oh. Badi's voice was magnificent and deep, as if it came from the heaviest space. The sound seemed to have a huge weight, hitting Superba's heart directly, giving him a heavy feeling. In the diamond throne, covered by the magnificent light, Badi's fingers rubbed the balance on the handguard slightly. A pair of eyes, in the light, seemed to see from the abyss, making Superba's face more bleak. The atmosphere was changing into a heavy and bleak one at any time. Their lives, like a small boat in the wind and rain, could sink into the sea at any time, making them feel suffocated. Night Owl stood out from the crowd, lowered his head slightly, and knelt on one knee on the scorching asphalt road. Your Majesty Bamulodi, we have no intention of offending you. Your reputation is spread all over the universe, and your voice resounds throughout the universe. In the future, your footprints will be spread one by one. Even our universe feels your power and invincibility. Night Owl said this with emotion and fanatical eyes. We have gone through hardships for a long time, and traveled through the universe just to find your footprints, join your army, and contribute a little to Bamulodi's utopian empire. After Night Owl finished speaking, he lowered his head, his face calm, without a trace of shame. His eyes gently squinted at the 100,000-kilometer crack on the left side of Highway 6. There was no end in sight, and the information sent by Johnny Quick said that Bamulodi had established an ideal utopia. Without hesitation, he knelt down, wanting to see the difference between Badi's utopian empire and Gotham, which was ruled by the tyranny on Earth 3 where he lived. Yes, yes, yes. We are here to join you. The Green Lantern of Earth 3 had no backbone at all, and was extremely weak. He knelt down directly with Night Owl, prostrating himself on the ground, trembling with fear that Badi would kill him in an instant. Superman was a little embarrassed. Night Owl actually knelt faster than him. Now he was neither up nor down, and he was holding some burdens of the ruler of the old world in his heart. His face was pale, and his knees trembled slightly in embarrassment. He wanted to kneel, But kneeling like this would make him look too useless. After all, he had ruled the earth on Earth 3. Strictly speaking, he should be at the same level as Bamuloti. We should be at the same level, shake hands and chat happily, and talk about some experiences of ruling the earth. Just as Superman was struggling and hesitating in his heart, the queen behind him, without hesitation, deliberately showed her charming body in the most sexy and seductive posture. The hem of her dress-like dress revealed her strong and beautiful thighs, and she knelt down directly with Night Owl. That's right, Your Majesty Bamulodi, your majestic figure is the one I pursue and serve in this life. The queen was very sexy, and her voice was like honey, which was very seductive. This bitch. Cheoba's heart was twisted immediately. She didn't say that to me at the beginning. I was the strongest, the most powerful, the thickest, the most impactful, the one that made her body tremble and twitch the most, and the one that was the most enjoyable. Just when Cheoba was about to kneel down. Coward. The Sea Overlord stood out from the crowd holding a trident, unruly, with fiery eyes, holding the trident, and pointing it in the direction of Badi from a distance. I'm the Overlord of the Seven Seas, the Overlord of the Sea. Do you dare to fight me? The Overlord of the Sea roared. His eyes were fierce, and he was considered to be an unusually strong person among the group. Even at this moment, he still did not lose his so-called domineering demeanor as the Lord of the Seven Seas. Deathstorm also stood out from the crowd, his eyes coldly squinting, looking at the kneeling people mercilessly. He was extremely arrogant, without the emotions of normal people, and did not know what fear was. He said ruthlessly, just these people want to stop me? The two were unusually outstanding. One was because of his identity as the Overlord of the Seven Seas, and would not yield, and the other was because he had no normal emotions, and seemed extremely cold and fearless. He did not think that the Kryptonian warriors here could stop him. Superman was in the middle behind the two, and he seemed to be unwilling to yield either. He was shaking in his heart, and was in a state of anxiety. Now that these two such strong guys had made him kneel down, he could not kneel down, but standing up would make him look like he was resisting to his death. Superman's face was immediately tangled. Should he kneel down or not? How dare you be disrespectful to His Majesty? A commander of the Kryptonian warrior corps shouted angrily. When he felt that His Majesty was sitting on the throne and did not respond, he knew what to do. His Majesty's majesty must be maintained. Two soldiers ordered by the commander stepped out and rushed towards the Sea Overlord and Deathstorm respectively, wanting to take them down. Come on, the Seven Seas Overlord will not tolerate insults. The Sea Overlord held the trident and faced the Kryptonian soldier. The two fought fiercely and went up to the sky. The magic used by the Sea Overlord had some restraint on the Kryptonian physique, but after all, the genetic level of the Kryptonian soldiers was not low, so they could suppress the Sea Overlord. Seeing that it took a long time for a soldier to take down the Sea Overlord, which was a loss of His Majesty's majesty, the commander ordered a soldier to take action and directly beat the Sea Overlord like a ping pong ball. In the end, he broke all his bones and became chaos, with blood splattered on the road. Deathstorm, on the other hand, created a green kryptonite light, waving the green light beam with both hands, laughing crazily. I know that the Kryptonians in your world are afraid of green kryptonite radiation. Ha 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 ha. He laughed in the sky, waving the green kryptonite light with both hands. Finally, he was slapped down by a soldier and smashed on the road. Basically, the standard equipment of Kryptonian soldiers is already a wartime armor that protects against kryptonite radiation, and they are no longer afraid of green kryptonite radiation. Deathstorm was shocked and frightened to the point of widening his eyes. Why didn't it work? Exclamation mark. In the end, Deathstorm's recovery ability was so frightening that he could always reassemble his body. The commander sent 4 more people to directly dismember Deathstorm and drag the body into space to explode into flames. Superman felt cold in his heart. He only sent out 7 soldiers to solve the problem of Sea Tyrant and Deathstorm. This was too fast. There were still 99,991 Kryptonian soldiers left. How could he fight? He knelt down. Just when he was about to kneel down. Don't surrender. You have character. Kill him. Badi didn't expect that Speedmaster would be so stubborn. He was shaking with fear, but he still refused to kneel. He has character. I like him. Badi casually told the soldiers to just kill him. Speedmaster was useless anyway. They could just use his body for a search. No. I kneel. Don't kill me. I kneel. I kneel. I kneel. Chapter 327 Emperor Armor and Kana made her child. Emperor building. Basement. The room was white. The walls were white metal. The bright white lights illuminated the room. The air revealed an extremely heavy metal smell. There was a metallic sound, as if huge metal was rubbing. Badi gently held his big hand, which was covered with a layer of black armor, and the joints were flexible and comfortable. He was wearing armor that Arrow and Raven had modified to absorb magnetic fields and isolate the influence of the physical magnetic field. It allowed Badi's uncontrollable body magnetic field to be normally gathered inside the armor so that it would not be emitted, causing singularity collapse and black hole vortex. The armor was dark steel in color, and the cold metal was arranged from Badi's abdomen, forming an armor style with a very impactful beauty. The dark gold lines and edges extended to each joint, reflecting the majestic imperial momentum on the dark and cold steel armor. This was an armor that was magnificent, majestic, and domineering, and fully displayed the imperial momentum. Kai. Z. A smile appeared on Badi's lips. His armor fingers kept rubbing against each other. The sharp fingers collided and made a metallic sound. His whole body was covered in the armor that Raven named the Emperor, with only his head exposed. The dark golden color made Badi and the Emperor's armor match each other perfectly. Just from the appearance, one could already feel the huge and terrifying majesty coming down. Of course, that was psychological and visual pressure, not a real spiritual magnetic field attack. Very good, I like it very much. Badi moved his hands and feet slightly, and the lines of the dark golden armor undulated, as if the ancient god king had awakened in the universe with endless majesty and pressured the universe. Not only that, there is also this. Raven pulled up a down-like dark golden cloak with both hands and shook it lightly. It was like a dark golden sea of stars shaking in the waves. The Bamulodi logo was clearly engraved on the back. Raven put his hands around and installed the dark golden cloak on the shoulders of the Emperor's armor. The Emperor armor limits the magnetic field of the body, which will cause you to be unable to control the magnetic field to form engine power for flight. But at the same time, your physical magnetic field will also enhance the armor's power regulation at the molecular level, providing a variety of Hera-embedded ability modes so that you can maximize the use of the excess magnetic field emitted by your body. In the end, Hera and I designed this cloak to assist you in flying and balance the energy output of the armor. Raven put a cloak on Badi, making the Emperor armor more majestic and awe-inspiring. Raven adjusted Badi's Emperor armor and cloak, and after they were combined without any hindrance, he took a step back, looked at Badi, and nodded with satisfaction. We should have one more weapon to symbolize the power and authority of the Bamulo Empire. I'm sorry, the mace was destroyed. Badi apologized with regret. He didn't expect that the mace, which he had never taken out to fight, was destroyed in the Speed Force. When he was covered by countless past selves and formed the only one, all the space items in his body, proton communication cells, tyrannical mace, etc., were completely wiped out when he became the only god. There was no way they could survive under the frequency of the Speed Force. It doesn't matter. I'm already planning to use the neutron star core and your flesh and blood to build a super weapon for you. There should be a weapon that symbolizes your identity and authority. Raven shook her head gently. Badi was fine. Everything was more important than anything else. Moreover, she felt strange to use the mace to symbolize the authority of the Bamulodi Empire. It was just like the Norse mythology, Asgard Odin's eternal spear, and the Greek mythology, the Olympian god Zeus's lightning spear. Those iconic weapons of authority made people know how they represented the power and authority of their gods. If the mace becomes the symbol of Badi's authority, then in the future, when people describe Badi, they can only call it Bamulodi's mace, Bamulodi's mace of tyranny, or Bamulodi's divine weapon, the tyrannical mace of God King Bamulodi. Raven thought of several adjectives in a row, which made her feel a little weird. As for weapons, after making the armor, she had another inspiration. Next time, she planned to use the neutron star core and Badi's flesh and blood to make magic flesh and blood weapons, which would be planet-sized weapons, and would evolve to that extent as Badi became stronger. Badi should like it, and it should also represent Badi's supreme authority. Raven secretly planned in her heart. The two chatted about the issue of weapons. Not long after, little Hera also came here. Seeing Badi wearing the Emperor's armor and dark golden cloak, which was so different from the usual naked body and white windbreaker, her eyes lit up, and she praised it for being beautiful. After several chats and praises, little Hera began to report the battle situation. Old Bay, Kana has dealt with the Parallax demon and enslaved it, using your flesh and blood to turn her into a little girl with blonde hair and twin ponytails. At this point, little Hera continued with a somewhat strange look. They are having fun now. Do we need to summon them back to prepare for the attack on OA Star? After little Hera finished speaking, she projected a communication video on the white metal wall, connecting Kana and Jenny. Then, Kana's chubby little face, with white horns and a head of messy white hair, faced the screen. In her hands, she tightly held a little girl with blonde hair and twin ponytails, who was probably in junior high school. She had a cute face, and her breasts were more spectacular than those of an adult, with a rounded outline. She kept struggling and shaking, her face was cold and angry, and she was domineering. Let go. Kana bailing. I won't call you mom. The blonde girl was taller than Kana, but she couldn't get rid of Kana's hands. Kana held her tightly with a sweet smile, so that she couldn't leave. This blonde and arrogant little girl was the creature that Kana created again with Badi's flesh and blood after she pulled the Parallax monster out of Hal's body. Seeing the video connection was connected, Kana hugged the blonde girl, tightly clamped her abdomen, and shook her left and right, almost making her roll her eyes. Old Badi, I created a child for you, come and change the name. Kana hugged the blonde girl, just like catching an exciting toy, and she would never let go. This blonde girl, formed by fear and Badi's flesh and blood, was no match for Kana at all. She was suppressed by Kana, and her cute face was full of humiliation and anger, and her face turned red with anger. Badi looked at the screen, pondered, and said, just call her Ellie. Chapter 328, Mungo, Otto. Diamond Moon. A planet composed of carbon and oxygen in a crystal state. It was pushed back from the starry sky by Badi and used as the current moon. This moon, which is more beautiful than ever before, has become the new favorite of humans on Earth. The Mid-Autumn Festival in the East is even more a grand moon appreciation program in the world. Every year, there are grand activities and a festive atmosphere. Now, here, there is a faint cool fluorescence on the surface of the diamond moon. On the surface of the moon, there is the first line of defense against space battles. The war fortress built by particles is cold and high-tech metal. Various Kryptonian warriors in space, human super warriors, and prisoners in the Phantom Zone form a legion led by General Ultra to guard the territory of the Bamulodi Empire. In contrast, not far from the Diamond Moon, there is a war world that is no smaller than the Diamond Moon. That is Mungo's war world. Mungo is a cosmic tyrant who likes to drive the planet-sized mobile fortress war world to run rampant in the universe, driving tens of millions of slaves to conquer alien planets and perform gladiatorial battles for him. In the war world, there is a huge arena where slaves and warriors from all over the universe shed blood every day to add fun to Mungo's battle. Mungo's power is enough to destroy stars and run rampant in the universe. Even if Brainiac's mechanical technology planet meets Mungo's war world, there will be no idea of fighting him because it will only hurt both sides. What's more, both of them have set their sights on the Earth. After the initial round of attempts on the Earth, Brainiac became afraid of Hera, the terminal of the Earth, and went to Mars, occupied Mars, and transformed it on Mars to prepare for the attack on the Earth. Mungo, on the other hand, was driving the war world and was ready to attack the Earth directly, but was stopped by the defense corps led by General Ott on the moon and was deadlocked here. This day, in the war world, a large number of various space slave warriors suddenly emerged and came to the moon with Mungo. He was wearing a leather-like battlesuit, nearly 3 meters tall, with yellow skin like wrinkled old trees, and his momentum was crazy and brutal, and he smiled with a fearless and playful madness. He only brought a rough-faced guard, who was careless, and had a disdainful expression on his face, and left a large number of slave warriors in space, and stepped onto the moon. Mungo, what are you doing here? General Lott appeared from the lunar command room with a solemn face and a murderous look. He gathered all the Legion's combat power from all directions, adjusted the angle of the artillery, and took off the fighter planes to aim at Mungo's body. Hot, I admire you, become my subordinate. Mungo's yellow skin was wrinkled, as if it had experienced many years, exuding a strong aura left by the years. He grinned and looked at Ott with admiration. This man, who was able to defend the Earth with his own slave legion, relying on the combat power of a legion 5 times less than his own, and using the moon as the first line of defense, tightly tied his war world around the diamond moon, was simply a rare talent for commanding the army. The Bamilo Empire has not surrendered. General Ott stood on the surface of the diamond moon, his combat cape fluttering behind him, his face firm and fearless. Behind him was silence, and the cold muzzle and all kinds of angry and unfriendly eyes stared at Mungo. Mungo's eyes became more and more appreciative, and his white teeth, which were twice as big as those of ordinary people, appeared in his mouth, and his lips were extremely curved and cracked into an exaggerated smile. Ha 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 ha. Mungo laughed loudly, causing waves of ripples on the surface of the diamond moon. Huge pressure and terrifying aura emanated from his body, constantly blowing General Ott's cape. At this moment, General Ott was like facing this storm, his cape swaying in the wind and rain, but his body stood like a pillar of heaven. His will was strong and fearless, and he stared at Mungo with a cold face. Let's have a fight. Ott, Mungo said with a big grin. Fight with my men in the arena. If you win, I can leave the Earth for 100 years, and will not invade the Earth for 100 years. If you lose, you will become my men. Mungo's body was as strong as a mountain, and his muscles seemed to burst from the imitation leather armor. He raised a huge arc at the corner of his mouth and said, your master disappeared in the universe, which has proved that he is incompetent and not worthy of your loyalty. Vertical bar. He admired Ultra for being able to block his own war world here. Ultra and he had the same love for war and fighting. He was a truly crazy, cruel, and tyrannical fighter. Unfortunately, His Majesty Bamilodi has returned. Mungo, your words and deeds have buried your death, and you will be buried in this starry sky. The majesty of Bamilodi cannot be trampled on. Ultra's face flashed with cruelty, and his eyes suddenly showed a fierce light. Behind him, almost everyone exuded a huge and terrifying murderous aura, staring at Mungo with red eyes. Mungo, I promise you, I will present the most exciting fight for His Majesty Bamilodi. Welcome back, His Majesty. Ha ha ha. Interesting. I look forward to seeing your majesty splattering blood at my feet. Mungo was fearless, grinning, his eyes still full of admiration and cruelty, and he turned around and left with his guards. Even if the Emperor of the Earth returned, he would not be afraid. He had been rampant in the universe for countless years, unscrupulous, and only a few people could make him look up to them, and this so-called Emperor of the Earth, Bamilodi, was not one of them. Mungo's guard turned around. His face was rough and unruly, and he was extremely displeased with the loyalty of Ultra to a dog. He coughed and pulled out a mouthful of phlegm from his throat, and spit it directly on the moon with a poo sound. With a naked sneer on his face, he turned around and left with Mungo. Such an arrogant look directly aroused the anger of the soldiers of the Legion behind General Ott. They stared at Mungo and the guards with red eyes as they left. Come here. General Ott waved with a cruel face. A soldier quickly came to his side, with a face full of anger and red face. General, are we going to fire and kill him? No. Use a small energy shield to preserve this spit, and don't let the nutrients be lost. After presenting the gladiatorial contest to His Majesty, I will let him eat it again. General Ott's face was cold and cruel, his eyes flashed with tyranny, watching Mungo and the burly guard leave. The majesty of Emperor Bamilo would never allow anyone to express disdain by spitting. The soldiers beside General Ott were solemnly excited, and a mouthful of indignation and anger was released from their chests. They were so excited that their hearts beat violently. Their faces were red, and they responded loudly. Yes, I guarantee with my life that I will definitely protect it. Chapter 329, War World Arena. War World. This is a giant, planet-level war fortress, a famous arena in the universe. King Mong has conquered countless alien planets and selected the strongest, most ferocious, cruelest, and most tyrannical beasts to stage the most brutal gladiatorial performances. This is the Earth's ray of hope, a trace of mercy given by our King Mong. In the arena, fight 3 games. As long as all 3 games are won, the Earth will be delayed and gain 100 years of life. This is the Earth's only chance. Life and death struggle, violent blood splashing in the polar regions. The huge Roman-style arena was immediately filled with crazy, blood-boiling calls. Various universes, colorful, and bizarre species, here shouted loudly and crazily, warming up for the upcoming crazy angle. The host was a slender, eloquent green thin alien, using the universal language of the universe, which greatly aroused the shock of the scene. The roars that erupted from the scene of more than 1 million people were thunderous all day long, and the entire war world seemed to cheer and boil. The highest point of the huge arena, the best place, the exclusive position of Mongo. Mongo sat on his black throne, his white teeth showing, his yellow skin wrinkled, and he was in a very happy mood. Is the Emperor of the Earth, Bumulo, here? Mongo waved gently and asked. He didn't care about the so-called Emperor of the Earth. He just always followed his hobby and asked the Earth to send the most outstanding warriors to perform for him in the arena, conquer their most outstanding warriors in the arena, and even conquer their emperor. It has entered the war world and is being led here. The humble Emperor of the Earth is very happy to be invited to watch the war arena and watch the battle between the Earth and the universe gladiators. The waiter beside him answered respectfully. Ha ha ha. You are so confident. I, Mongo, like people with inflated confidence the most. Mongo laughed, with tyrannical teasing in his words, as if the arrival of the Emperor of the Earth could add a little fun to him. He grinned, showing a row of huge white teeth, with a bit of cruelty and joy. Trample, trample, trample. Suddenly, in the distance, it was as if a giant steel beast was stepping on the world of war, and the heavy steel stepped out step by step, making huge, heavy mountain-like footsteps. A domineering and cold armor appeared in front of Mongo. The armor was as dark as the abyss of the universe, and with the magnificent and deep dark gold joined color, it showed the posture of the Supreme Emperor. Especially behind him, the wide, down-like dark gold cloak seemed to absorb the bright stars. There were stars twinkling in the dark gold, which set off the supreme majesty of the person, the high and mighty God King, the Emperor's posture. With his indifferent expression, for a moment, Mongo seemed to see the top of the universe, the God King standing at the highest point, overlooking the universe. In just a moment, Mongo came back to his senses, because Badi's posture was like the Emperor of the universe, and he was accompanied by several women, which completely destroyed the aura that Mongo had imagined for a moment. I saw a naughty little girl with white hair and horns, and baby fat, climbing up the dark golden cape behind Badi, climbing up the shoulders of Badi's armor, mischievously pulling her eye bags with her fingers, sticking out her tongue, and teasing the blonde girl with twin ponytails next to her with a playful look. I'm the king of terror, and I will not snatch the old bay from you, just because of the feeling of the flesh. Ellie stomped her feet angrily, gnashed her teeth, and glared at Kana, crossed her arms, and approached Badi a little bit, then shook with a struggling look on her face. Because they were all constructed from the flesh of Badi's body, they had an unusually intimate affection for Badi, and the subconscious flesh was changing their thinking, and their center was towards Badi. Ellie was created in the past 2 days. She herself is the source of fear, the parallax monster of the king of fear. How could she willingly surrender? So she was wandering between the pleasure of surrendering the flesh and the struggle of herself, and was quite entangled. Kana had seen through the thoughts and situation of the arrogant Ailey, the yellow of fear, and kept sticking her tongue out at her on Badi's shoulder. On the other side, after 2 years, Kara, who had grown up and become a graceful lady, had always maintained a dignified appearance, wearing a decent little suit, and persuaded, don't make trouble, it will embarrass the teacher. Kara gently pressed her palm on Ailey's shoulder, asking her not to be naughty with Kana. After all, they were brought out by Badi to see the universe and the world, and they couldn't let Badi lose face. Kara comforted Ailey for Badi's sake. However, I don't know if Kara's comfort had the opposite effect, or if Ailey was a rebellious girl. She immediately became angry and roared, I will not give in. She turned around and ran, running back to the way she came. How could Kana let a toy run away? She jumped directly on Badi's shoulder and hugged Ailee's slender waist again. What are you doing? Kana, let me go. Let me go. I'm going crazy. Just like that, Kana kept holding Ellie, floating behind Ellie who was struggling and running wildly, and ran out of Badi's sight. He didn't know where the two of them ran out of madness. After Kara called out to them several times without any effect, Badi shook his head and smiled faintly. Two lamp beasts with childlike personalities. Don't pay attention. Mungo, you should pay attention. To send someone to watch them, and don't damage the war world. Badi said. The war world is definitely his own. Badi doesn't want to damage it too much. He should cherish his own things. Then, the secretary type Hera who came with Badi took out Badi's diamond chair, put it on the table, and took out luxurious food. He was more like a master than a master, and prepared to start watching the gladiatorial fight. Badi still had a certain interest in gladiatorial fights. It seemed that he had never seen such things. Mungo was stunned. He looked at this man wearing the Emperor's armor and dark gold windbreaker, as if the stars were shining around him. He didn't show any fear, trembling, or terror in front of him. He didn't understand what he was facing. Natives are natives. But this made Mungo more happy and satisfied with the sense of conquest. Haha, interesting, interesting. Mungo laughed, looking forward to the end, when he would tear his armor and expose the weak man in front of him, trembling. Mungo has been in the universe for many years, and his eyesight is more than good. He can see at a glance that this dark gold Emperor's armor is an extremely powerful armor creation, with a powerful magnetic field reaction that can be compared to a divine weapon. With this armor, it is indeed possible to conquer a backward planet like the Earth, but it is still a little short of himself. Mungo grinned. In this case, let's open it. He waved his hand and directly interrupted the crazy scene warmed up by the host, and ordered it to start. The host suspended in the air shuddered, adjusted the volume, and roared with blood boiling. Let us welcome the gladiators, the defenders from the Earth. General Ultra. And, the famous brutal bounty hunter in the universe, Violent Wolf Rob. Two dark figures appeared from the corridor under the arena. Chapter 330, Victory of the First Battle. Violent Wolf. 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 The millions of people in the entire arena seemed to be crazy, and waves of huge sound waves overturned everything. Even those who sat in the most honorable and best positions, far away from the crowd below, seemed to feel the enthusiasm of the entire arena, the kind of excitement and enthusiasm, the boiling and burning breath of blood, the crazy shouting and heat. This is a scene that will drive everyone crazy, the most exciting scene, and people will involuntarily be brought up with the most intense emotions, roaring and screaming, and tearing and exploding emotions. This is also the reason why Mungo has been chasing and insisting on the arena. It's so fun. Ha ha ha. Mungo grinned, with a hint of crazy cruelty in his eyes. Badi nodded. The atmosphere was very intense, and he felt as if he was burning. His blood was boiling, and he wanted to blow up this war world with one punch, run to the center of the sun, destroy the solar system, and vent his excitement. However, calm down, calm down, calm down. Badi silently said to calm down in his heart, and let himself calm down silently. Since he became the only god, Badi has eaten too much dirt, and it is easy for Badi to get excited and lose control. If it were before, in this situation, Badi would only watch coldly, and would not have the idea of wanting to blow them up. Sure enough, it seems that he is going to become a barbarian. He must calm down. If he gets too excited, he will really destroy the solar system. So this is the Violent Wolf. Badi calmed down, and looked at the man who came out from the other corner of the corridor of the arena. He had a head of wild hair, an unruly face, and was as wild as a beast. Violent Wolf. Kara turned her head. She was also allowed to sit in the chair on Badi's left. She sat upright in the face of danger. She was brought out by Badi to see the big scene and train him. She also knew that she was very serious about understanding everything. To the right of Badi was the secretary Hera, who was busy peeling grapes, opening red wine, cutting roast chickens, and roasting dinosaurs for Badi so that Badi could eat more conveniently. This style, made him look more like the master than Mungo. Because Mungo was just sitting on his black throne, he was incomparable. Whether it was style, the brilliance of Badi's imperial armor, the diamond throne that had been transformed several times, and the servants of Kara and Hera beside him, all made him look more luxurious and noble. Mungo almost raised his eyes, which was not afraid of himself or too bold. He glanced at the several kinds of alien fruits in front of his table, as well as the large table of fruits and roasted pigs, roasted saber-toothed tigers, roasted tyrannosaurus on Badi's side, as well as some stewed magical creatures, dragons cultivated by Jenny, and various exotic fruits catalyzed by Pamela plants. It was really a feast of delicacies. On the contrary, his side looked very shabby, like a country bumpkin. Whether it was clothing, aura, seeds, servants, or the emperor's enjoyment of eating, as soon as he opened his mouth, all were surpassed by Badi. This made Mungo's face twitch slightly. Of course, this was surpassed because everything about Badi, whether it was external decoration, the style and majesty displayed, was calculated by Hera's terminal. Whether it was from the appearance or the performance of strength, it was done to the fullest. If it wasn't for the fear of directly scaring Mungo, Hera would have prepared an emperor's guard of honor in the future, scattering flowers all the way in the universe, using planets as warships and mounts, conquering planets all the way, so that Badi would be unparalleled, and sit on the throne. Bao Lang is a Xanian, born on the planet Xania. When he was 17 years old, he killed all the people on his planet. It seems that he has an immortal body of immortality. Badi took a bite of the roasted magic dragon meat handed to him by his secretary Hera. This dragon meat is extremely tough, tougher than ordinary Kryptonians, and only Badi can afford it. As for whether he has an immortal body, Badi expressed some doubts. That is just a comic book. In reality, it may be reflected in the strong recovery ability. Yes, Bao Lang is the most famous bounty hunter in the universe. I spent a lot of effort to let him fight in my arena. Mungo said with a somewhat cruel smile, with a cruel smile in his eyes. Obviously, this is a kind of coercion. With a threatening threat, Bao Lang took the initiative to appear in the arena. Otherwise, Bao Lang's character is really hard to make people yield. Badi didn't know what was behind it, and didn't want to know, so he didn't care. While the two were talking above, General Ultra and Bao Lang on the ground had already fought. The battle was fierce, and they kept hitting each other away, making a huge sonic boom sound, embedded in the wall of the arena. The scene was simply shocked, and then the shouting, that tore the heart and lungs, was deafening, and the surround sound effect was shocking to the extreme. Both of them had strong recovery abilities, and the fight was equally fierce. Strictly speaking, General Ott is not a match for Bao Lang, but General Ott received a weakened version of the perfect doomsday serum half a year ago. He is one of the few people who can hold on and not lose his mind. Therefore, it is hard to say whether this battle will be successful. Badi looked at Ott's performance with expectation. Since his beloved subordinate wanted to present this fierce battle and welcomed him back, he would watch his efforts carefully. Badi was always very good to his subordinates. No matter what, as long as he was here, everything would be fine. Are you interested in a bet? Mungo said cruelly, his eyes teasing, flashing with irresistible meaning. Badi ate the roast duck meat handed over by Hera at ease, chewed it gently, and said, okay, how do you bet? If you lose, the whole earth is mine. Okay, if you lose, the whole war world is mine. Badi answered easily. He could kill Mungo with a slap, and he had no objection to this bet. Ha ha ha. Mungo laughed, his white teeth showing, and he laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. How could he lose? You should see. Violent Wolf is beating your General Ultra. Yes, the situation is very serious. General Ultra is going to transform. As soon as Badi finished speaking, as expected, General Ultra turned into a 4-meter high doomsday and started fighting with Violent Wolf again. This time, the scene effect was even more exciting. The entire giant arena was trembling, and the audience was roaring and screaming. Mongo raised his eyebrows, full of confidence, and laughed powerfully. Violent wolf will not lose. Suddenly, Kanna jumped out from nowhere, riding a golden cosmic dolphin, passing over the arena, and shouted happily, "You can't catch up with me. Haha. Zyojin, run. I found it. I felt its fear. It belongs to me." Damn Kanna. Ellie was angry, roaring, flying at high speed, chasing Kanna. The wolf on the ground was surprised. He ignored General Ultra's grip on his legs and tore them off. He chased after Kanna and Ellie with excitement. "Pike, you're okay. Come back soon." The three of them and a cosmic dolphin broke through the sky of the war world and flew back to the outside of the universe, to the location of the Earth. General Ultra grabbed the two legs and smashed them madly. After smashing them, he found that the upper body of the wolf disappeared. He searched around in confusion. Not only General Ultra was confused, but also Badi and Kara. Ahem. Sorry, the child was naughty and the wolf ran away. Did I win? Mongo looked unkind, staring at Badi with a ferocious and twisted look, as if he was about to spit fire. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Mechanical Superman. Mungo narrowed his eyes and stared at Badi with a fierce murderous aura, like a cold wind with needles, passing by Badi, stimulating Kara who was sitting upright and making her hair stand on end. He finally caught Baolang's weakness and caught a cosmic dolphin. He threatened Baolang with the cosmic dolphin and forced Baolang to fight 100 games in the arena before releasing the cosmic dolphin and returning it to him. Baolang cherished the cosmic dolphin very much. In the universe, there was a person who was killed by Baolang because of hurting and killing the cosmic dolphin. Mungo had a cosmic dolphin in his hand, forcing Baolang to surrender. Now, there were only 7 battles. The cosmic dolphin was rescued by Kanna and Ellie. I don't know how the two children made trouble. In his strict prison, they rescued the cosmic dolphin and rode the dolphin to chase and play in the universe. Baolang didn't even have the mind to fight and just followed them. Mungo wanted to crush the heads of the two naughty children, which ruined his mood. His face was sinister and he pressed down on Badi like a mountain. He lost a great gladiator and a precious cosmic dolphin. The space was filled with piercing murderous aura. Kara, who sat upright, couldn't help but twist her body and shiver a few times. In this murderous aura like a cold wind with needles, she felt like she was swinging in a black hole, extremely uncomfortable. However, Badi gently patted Kara's shoulder with his big hand in the armored cold metal. Kara suddenly came back to her senses, as if she was pulled out of the black hole by a big hand, and she was quiet and calm in an instant. Can't afford to lose. Badi made a bold move, leaning his back naturally on the throne, with a relaxed posture and a majestic and inviolable domineering demeanor. Badi chuckled, and his cold steel-wrapped palm rubbed the wine glass. Hara opened a bottle of fragrant and mellow flaming red wine for him. It was jumping in the goblet like fire, and he drank it lightly. He looked at Mongo with a smile. Suddenly, Mongo's murderous aura shrank like a tide and disappeared completely in this space. He grabbed his wine glass on the table with his big hand. The liquid in the wine glass was bright as blood. He raised the wine glass and toasted from a distance. "You won this round. I never thought that there would be an accident. Native, you made me look at you with new eyes." Mongo raised his wine glass and laughed wildly. He drank the liquid in his wine glass in one gulp. He was heroic and heroic, with a cruel smile. "Next time, you won't be so lucky." Badi smiled and toasted him remotely. He drank the flaming red wine, and the mellow aroma of the wine began to spread in the room. "What if I win again?" Badi smiled and looked at Mongo teasingly. Mongo laughed, and the men beside him added the bright red liquid like blood to his empty wine glass, which was thick and sticky. "The next player is a Kryptonian." Mongo stared at Badi's face, trying to see surprise from Badi's face, but he saw nothing. "What about a Kryptonian?" After the explosion of Krypton, there are always some remnants that survived in the universe, which had no impact on Badi. Moreover, Badi had no good feelings towards the social conditions and order of Krypton. Even though he had grown stronger from a Kryptonian, it was just a point of use. Badi never considered himself a Kryptonian. On the contrary, Badi was more identified with his human identity. Of course, whether it was a Kryptonian or a human, they were already very far away from Badi because he was now a god. On the contrary, when Kara heard that Mongo was going to show a Kryptonian, she was shocked. She didn't expect that after the explosion of Krypton, there were still people who survived and became gladiators here. Mongo gently shook the wine glass, and the thick and sticky bright red liquid exuded a faint blueberry fragrance. He leaned against the throne, his eyes flashed with ill-intentioned light, and said with a smile, "I picked him up when I was rampant in the universe." Mongo shook the wine glass, as if he was an old man telling the past, but with the intention of watching a show. At this time, the arena was cleared and the next match was about to begin. The gladiator representing Mongo began to appear from the long corridor with a red spot. He walked out from the far end of the corridor, as if he had walked out of death, with a little red spot of death, gradually emerging from the dark corridor. His figure was tall, and in the shadows, he seemed very stiff. Every step he took was like he was carrying a planet on his back, with a hint of stiffness and coldness. At that time, almost half of his body was gone. Mongo continued, shaking his wine glass, with a cruel smile on his lips. "I transformed him, half of his body, using the most advanced technology core, to create a cold and ruthless warrior." At the same time, the host above the arena began to scream, bringing up the warm atmosphere of the whole venue. "Everyone, let us welcome the survivors of Krypton, the cold and ruthless iron-blooded mechanical warrior, the mechanical Superman." The tall figure walked out of the shadow corridor, and the huge light shone on his face, showing a ruthless look. The enthusiastic cheers around him did not affect him at all. He was like a cold machine. He was not excited or excited. His tall body walked out coldly amid the huge roars, and stood in the arena. His cold and vast figure was like standing in the wilderness. Even the loud roars next to him could not move him at all. The left half of his face was made of metal machinery. The metal cheeks reflected the bright cold metal light. In his eyes, there was a ruthless electronic red light flashing like the red light of a skull. The other half of his face was a face that Badi and Kara were very familiar with. Badi paused for a moment, while drinking the red wine at his mouth. His face was frozen. "Father." Kara suddenly stood up from her chair in shock. There was shock in her eyes. Her heart was beating wildly in disbelief and her face was excited. The person in the arena, the remaining half of the human face, was Zor-El, who supported Badi's revolution on Krypton. On Krypton, Batel's revolution failed, and he was forced to leave Krypton. In the remaining days, Batel once heard Kara say that they did not live well. They were abandoned by the El family and became wanted criminals, hiding everywhere. Kara's father, Zor-El, used the last escape pod to send Kara to Earth to be taken care of by Batel. Unexpectedly, the escape pod had an accident and wandered near the Phantom Zone, which led to Zod coming out of the Phantom Zone and capturing Kara to come to Earth. He used the last moments of his life to create shield technology to save his city, but ultimately failed due to Jor-El's intervention and was imprisoned miserably. When he was about to be sent to the Phantom Zone, Krypton exploded and Zor-El was paralyzed. He used the health pod to protect himself. In the end, he was caught by Mongo, who was rampant in the universe, and transformed into a cold, emotionless mechanical Superman. Chapter 332 Zor-El. Bang! The huge glass curtain wall shattered, and the fragments reflected white light in the air. Kara's thin body broke through the wall, her hands on her forehead, her eyes poking out from her arms, and she looked at the bottom of the arena excitedly. She fell heavily into the arena from her seat above the arena exclusive to Mongo like a meteor. The thick steel mixed soil ground, with long-standing blood stains, was stepped on by her boom to create a pit. She felt a slight numbness under her feet. She bent her knees, raised her head, and looked at her father in front of her. "Father, it's me, Kara." Kara looked at the cyborg who had been transformed into a half-machine, cold and ruthless with excitement and tears in her eyes. She was incredibly happy and heartbroken. His father was a great scientist with a far-sighted vision that far surpassed other Kryptonians. He was a face that dared to revolutionize and had a strong will. Now this father was too cold and emotionless, as if he didn't know her. When he saw her, there was no fluctuation, which made Kara sad. "Father, do you still remember me?" Kara said as she walked forward excitedly. Suddenly, the arms of the mechanical Superman formed a particle stream electron cannon, the fastest kinetic energy particle stream, in Kara's unbelievable eyes. Bang! The blue particle stream electron cannon directly hit Kara's chest, knocking Kara away, and hitting the wall of the arena heavily, making a dent, and then the body slid down. The pain in the chest immediately surged to Kara's head, making her gasp in pain, and she felt as if she was going to vomit out her internal organs. What made her even more painful was that her father did not recognize her. The double blow to the body and mind made Kara unable to bear it and shed big tears. Ha 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 ha. Interesting. I didn't expect that there would be a father-daughter reunion. Haha. This is really exciting. Haha. Mongo laughed wildly, and the sound waves shook the air, so huge and oppressive that the guards and waiters behind him felt suffocated. Even he didn't expect that there would be such a wonderful scene. The Kryptonian he picked up turned out to be Badi's acquaintance, Kara's father. This will be an emotional entanglement, a battle between the cold and ruthless cyborg father and his own flesh and blood daughter. This is very exciting. Is it the ruthless father who tortured his daughter? Or is it the daughter who reluctantly killed her father? Mongo grinned, showing his big white teeth, and looked at Badi with a playful smile. I didn't expect that I could still see old friends here. Badi sighed, shaking the wine glass gently in his hand, and looking at the cyborg Superman. The cyborg Superman was beating his daughter Kara. Kara was no match at all, and had been struggling to resist. Kara's combat subjects were not outstanding, very poor, and she did not have much talent in warriors. Facing her father, it was difficult for her to take action. She also tried to use language to make her father regain his mind and recognize her. In this situation, Kara had been beaten black and blue, and her arms were broken. She could only protect her face with difficulty, and kept talking about how much she missed her father. I want to thank you for saving him, and allowing those who supported me at that time to survive. Badi's face was full of emotion, and he raised his glass and toasted Mongo. No matter what kind of mentality Mongo had to save Zor-El, Badi would not mind. Zor-El was able to support himself with all his strength and let himself start a revolution for his own ideas and his belief that he could change Krypton and change everything when Krypton was in the most difficult time. Badi could never forget that kindness of helping him in the snow. He is not sentimental, but for everyone who is loyal to him, faithful to him, good to him, supports him, looks up to him, believes in himself, loves him, and believes in himself. Badi will not want to disappoint them, because as long as you take the lead in giving love and love him, he will definitely respond to this sincere love. From the bottom of his heart, Badi has always been a lonely person. You're welcome. Meng grinned with a hint of sarcasm, raised his glass, and drank the toast with Badi. Badi gently put the glass on the table, and he stood up from the diamond throne. You saved my old friend. It's worth your life. Badi smiled lightly, and stood up with a look overlooking the starry sky. At this moment, like a cosmic emperor, the God King was familiar with it from his sleep, and the dark gold seemed to flash endless stars surrounding him. The dark golden emperor armor dominated the starry sky and stood up in the starry sky, infinitely tall and majestic, and the feeling of towering breaking through the planet. Meng narrowed his eyes and crushed the wine glass in his hand. In the arena, Cyborg had already knocked Kara to the ground. Kara could only move helplessly, groaning on the ground, calling for her father in agony. Cyborg's cold and ruthless eyes flashed, and the mechanical parts of his left hand combined into a huge particle stream electron cannon, facing Kara, whose face was bruised and miserable. The dark particle stream electron cannon began to charge, emitting a burning breath, and pressed against Kara's face. Dat. Kara was unable to move. Her body was painful and sore, and her face was scratched by sharp blood marks, and many places were bruised. Her eyes began to blur, and she could only groan subconsciously. At the last moment, her eyes vaguely saw her father, and then it was completely dark. This weak voice of Dad was particularly harsh in Cyborg's ears. The look on his half-flesh face paused in confusion, as if a little girl flashed across her face, running and playing with him. But in an instant, the cold metal machinery erased this information, and his eyes turned cold and ruthless again. The particle stream electron cannon gradually became dazzling, emitting a huge blue light. Under the crazy and hot shouts of millions of spectators around, the particle stream electron cannon fired at Hera with a bang. Suddenly, the dark golden cloak fell like stars, and Badi appeared in front of Hera in a majestic figure. He was wearing a dark golden emperor armor, like a god king descending to the earth, reflecting the magnificent momentum of stepping on the stars, sweeping in all directions, domineering and holding up the sky, sweeping up the violent airflow. Badi stretched out his hand and directly pressed the palm of his steel claw against the muzzle. Boom. A huge explosion sounded, and the mechanical Superman was blown up. The parts of his arm flew away, and the whole person hit the ground of the arena like a missile. The ground was overturned by the huge wave, and the ground of the arena, which was a mixture of metal and soil and rock, was immediately blown into a big pit, and cracks were all over his feet. Dust began to roll up, covering the domineering dark golden armor. One could only vaguely see a tall figure in the dust, standing tall like a towering sky, with his cloak fluttering constantly. Chapter 333. You need to see the real power. What happened? Is that girl dead? How weak? It seems someone intervened in the duel. Who is it? A man in dark gold armor appeared very quickly, and blocked the particle stream electron cannon of the mechanical Superman. He broke the rules of the arena. Who is it? Dare to break the rules of Mongo and directly provoke Mongo. He appeared from Mongo's exclusive position. I saw it. In an instant, the whole arena was full of discussions. There was a 1,000-eyed alien in the universe who was famous for his eyesight. He could see the explosion particles split and collide with his super dynamic vision. In an instant, a dark gold tall figure appeared from Mongo's exclusive viewing room. He appeared very quickly, faster than a meteorite, more violent than an explosion, and brought a huge hurricane. It was like teleporting, and appeared in front of the particle stream electron cannon of the mechanical Superman, taking this particle stream electron cannon that could blow up the Asian continent. In the arena, there was a huge discussion. As the discussion became more heated, a more vigorous and huge discussion sounded. He's fine. A strange alien shouted with his eyes wide open. The thick dust continued to spread thinly. In the dimness, a tall figure could be seen in it, with his cloak slowly fluttering. The metal steel emperor armor brought a magnificent and majestic figure. In the thin dust, the light golden lines outlined a powerful, invincible, and admirable figure. The cloak gradually calmed down and stroked down behind him, as if the entire starry sky was surrendering to his feet. Suddenly, a huge hurricane of air blew away all the dust. The figure in the dust was like a king exposed in the abyss universe, dominating the starry sky, trampling the universe, and appearing in front of everyone. The dark golden cloak of stars began to flutter behind him. The whole war world suddenly paused, as if it was stepped on by a giant. From the exclusive viewing seat, Mongo swept across the orbit of the GUI like a falling meteorite, and came down to the arena, setting off a huge hurricane. Mongo was tall, with muscles knotted like the roots of an old tree. His leather tights burst with muscles of terrifying power. His terrifying muscles seemed to be expanding and swelling even more, and contained tyrannical power. He stepped into the center of the arena, clenched his thick fists, and burst the air. His muscles were tense with a terrifying sense of power, and his face was grinning with white teeth. The third battle has begun. The millions of spectators in the audience were surprised to see Mongo's end. Mongo, as the master of the entire war world in the entire universe arena, rarely had the moment to end. It was rumored that his power was enough to destroy the stars. He had been in the universe for countless years and no one could defeat him. At this moment, seeing Mongo's end, everyone in the audience had excited thoughts. They were going to see a wonderful battle that was enough to be recorded in the annals of the universe, which made their blood boil. Kill him. The guy who broke the rules. Someone roared, supporting Mongo. The roaring sound spread to an area, and then this excited blood infected others. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Waves of sound waves gathered like an ocean. More than 1 million people roared deafeningly. The blood of the beasts boiled, and they screamed fiercely every moment of their beating cells. There were aliens wearing clothes, who directly tore their clothes and roared to the sky. The roaring blood seemed to burst out of their chests. This arena erupted with unprecedented huge and fierce sounds, causing everyone's blood to boil. Badi's face was indifferent, his brows slightly frowned. He turned his head and looked at his left hand, which was used to resist the particle flow electron cannon of the mechanical Superman, and was blasted with porcelain-like cracks. This armor was originally a semi-finished product made by Raven, and was temporarily modified. Everything was used to block and absorb the magnetic field of Badi's body. Although it could withstand the level of nuclear bombs, it was still a bit difficult to withstand the particle flow electron cannon of the full-strength attack of the mechanical Superman. Now there are porcelain-like cracks, spreading on the dark gold joint lines, cracking shocking steel cracks. I said, I will spare your life. Don't provoke me, leave the war world, leave the solar system, and don't appear in front of me. Badi was indifferent, his left arm cracked, and the cracks began to increase and increase. He felt that the magnetic field of his left arm began to be uncontrolled, and was about to burst the left arm of the Emperor's armor. Now he didn't want to act rashly. Once the left arm armor burst, the magnetic field chaos would surge out of the left arm, which would cause uncontrollable consequences. At least, this war world, which had been planned to become Badi's product in the future, would be damaged to varying degrees, which was what Badi didn't want. You should take good care of your own things. Mongo grinned. His clenched fists had deep muscle lines, outlining his terrifying body muscles, which were deeper than those of the so-called bodybuilders, and explosive power gushed out of his muscles. Ever since he saw Badi, he had always believed that Badi could rule the earth by relying on the Emperor armor made of mixture of technology and magic, so he attacked without hesitation. As long as he defeated this Earth ruler who relied on technology and armor, naturally, General Ott and the Earth would be in his pocket. This was the purpose of inviting Badi here. Of course, Badi also had this purpose, to let Mongo see his power and surrender obediently. Obviously, Mongo saw the outside, and only blamed the Emperor armor and magnetic field for covering up Badi's terrifying power. You need to see the real power. Mongo laughed wildly, stepped forward, and stepped out to attack, leaving a huge crack in the ground of the arena. His fist broke through the air, and a sharp and powerful sound wave attacked Badi. Badi frowned slightly, watching Mongo raise his fist to meet the attack. He raised his left hand with an indifferent expression, and greeted Mongo's fist with his palm. Boom. A huge hurricane blew up towards the audience, blowing the bodies of the audience near the front row upside down. The hurricane poured into their ears and noses, and the entire arena was suffocating and shaking in an instant. At the point of collision, a huge pit suddenly sank underground, and dust and hurricane spread in waves. Mongo felt as if his fist hit a steel wall that would never shake. The powerful force could not move Badi's figure at all, and his fist was slightly painful. His eyes narrowed, and he stared at Badi's arm with an incredible look. Suddenly, I saw Badi's left hand. Starting from the palm, the iron hand armor of the Emperor's armor was hit by Mongo's punch, and the iron metal cracks were enlarged countless times. The force was like a tornado, extending along Badi's arm, sweeping away the iron fragments until the base of the arm, revealing Badi's strong arm like white jade, with powerful and beautiful muscle lines faintly visible, emitting a terrifying magnetic field reaction. In the arm, a surging magnetic field that contained enough to tear through space was gradually emerging, as if there was a deep abyss of fear hidden in the arm, erupting with the power to destroy the world. Chapter 334, The seal is revealed. Boom. A huge magnetic field exploded, like a hole, and the erupting volcano rushed straight into the sky. An extremely powerful force field, twisting the space, exploded from Badi's left arm. The impact in an instant directly blew away Mongo in front of him. Mongo was like a cannonball, and was bounced to the wall of the arena, smashing a deep pit. No figure could be seen. The wall had been torn apart, and was bounced deep inside, revealing only a dark hole. In an instant, Badi frowned, and the surging magnetic field of his body gushed out along the exposed left arm, like a volcanic eruption. Near his left arm, the range of nearly 3,000 meters was twisted and still spreading. It was all air twisted by the magnetic field, and twisted molecules. He stood in the center of the arena, just like a demon who had opened the seal of an arm, stirring everything. crushing all molecules, causing a huge vortex eddy, and madly and violently crushing everything. King Shinzora overwhelmed the entire arena, as if the sky was dark and obscured by him just standing there. The stars were destroyed inadvertently, and the universe was trampled by him. He was unrivaled in his majestic appearance. Many aliens in the audience stared with their eyes wide open, choking their breath, looking at the demon-like figure of Badi, trembling. Who is he? Did some monster break the seal? He took a punch from Mongo, but nothing happened to him. It seems that Mongo broke his seal. What kind of monster is this? The magnetic field of power alone causes air turbulence, distorts the air, and shatters molecules. Suddenly, in the midst of shock and discussion, an alien screamed miserably. My legs, my legs. The magnetic field twisted and spread to the front row of the audience, twisting the steel guardrail, shattering it into molecules, and disappearing silently. It spread like this, terrifyingly, and in just a moment, on Bati's left-hand side, it had twisted and torn, shattering the legs of more than 3,000 aliens. They were howling, screaming, and retreating in fear. Quickly retreat. His momentum is too terrifying. Tear my legs apart. What kind of demon is he? Get out of here. Get out of here. Damn it, he must be using the armor to seal his own power. I've never seen such a terrifying power. Just standing there is enough to form a black hole, distort space, and tear apart particles. Run. Get out of here. Leave this planet. We will die. In an instant, the entire arena was terrified. More than 1 million people were sweating and running for their lives. It seemed that an ancient demon king had awakened and tore the seal. The power that he couldn't even control surged out and overwhelmed the entire arena. Every move could easily destroy the war world the size of a planet. The entire arena was in chaos. Many strange aliens no longer had the kind of passion and blood-boiling feeling of watching the fight. They were terrified and kept running for their lives. There were constant incidents of people trampling each other. More aliens were trampled to death than those killed by Bati unintentionally. They just wanted to leave the scene quickly, because the twisted magnetic field had spread and engulfed nearly 5,000 people. The corpses twisted in fear, twisted into a knot, bone slag, and blood were crushed into particles in the air, and finally crushed into blood mist and dissipated. A variety of colorful blood mists appeared, bloody and twisted, extremely horrifying. The arena fell into chaos in an instant. Badi had a headache. The left arm of the Emperor's armor was damaged, causing the magnetic field reaction that could not be suppressed to radiate. The magnetic field of the whole body rushed out from the left arm crazily. This was simply the unicorn arm of the universe. At the least, it would destroy a star, and at the worst, it would create a singularity vortex. A black hole would appear, and it would keep getting bigger and destroy the solar system. The magnetic field reaction should be blocked by a partition. Badi thought to himself that each joint should be blocked for a section, so that even if a part of the Emperor's armor was accidentally lost, only a part of the exposed flesh would have a magnetic field reaction, which would still be within the controllable range. It would not be like now. The armor exploded, and the magnetic field of the whole body surged out. While thinking about the transformation of the Emperor armor later, Bati nodded to General Ott, Captain Larkin, and Team Jamie not far away, and asked them to take Kara and the Cyborg away from here. They quickly took Kara and the Cyborg away from here. When they passed Bati from a distance, Team Jamie looked at Bati with admiration and excitement, and saluted until they could no longer see him. They didn't dare to stay here. Obviously, it was too dangerous here. Boom boom boom. The whole war world seemed to be like an earthquake, and it kept sinking in space. There was a huge sound, as if a giant was stepping on the war world, making the war world tremble. The many spectators became more and more frightened, and the more they saw the panic, they fled from here in panic. Mungo walked out of the dark hole that was smashed step by step. His body seemed to be as heavy as 1 billion pounds, and his muscles burst with blue veins, like a dragon swimming, even more terrifying and hideous. You deserve to die. His eyes were cruel and violent, with a red light appearing in the dark cave, bringing a terrifying pressure. Of course, compared to the momentum of Bati, which has formed a substantial magnetic field, this kind of pressure is really child's play. perhaps his pressure, can crush the body of an ordinary person, but Badi's momentum and majesty can already twist and crush molecules and create black holes. There is no comparison. Boom. A high energy ray of red blood pierced through the air and burst out from Mongo's blood red eyes. The scorching high energy ray directly twisted the air and pierced through space. Badi raised his left hand slightly, and this high energy ray that could directly penetrate any continent on the earth was directly blocked by Badi. Badi even felt the burning sensation of a finger quickly passing through a lighter, which was almost as hot as nothing. At the moment of contact, Badi's arm naturally evolved high temperature resistance, and then, even the heat that passed through the flame of the lighter disappeared. The high energy rays in his hand splashed like sparks, splashed on the ground, and melted into lava. Boom. There was another sound of air explosion, and the high energy rays disappeared. Mongo moved instantly, squeezing the air, and in an instant, his tall body was behind Badi, covering Badi's figure. Badi raised his eyebrows, and soon, it was a real instant movement. In a flash, it disappeared in front of Badi's eyes without wasting time, and landed on his head. Submit to my fist. Mongo was above Badi's head, roaring fiercely, raising his fist violently, bursting out all his strength, and swinging down. Badi was too lazy to respond to his words, and without turning his head, he stretched his left hand directly up, as if a majestic dragon came out of the black hole in the universe, opened his mouth wide, grabbed Mongo's neck, and pulled him down, pressed down to the ground. Mongo was almost suffocated, his face was distorted, and he was pressed to the ground by Badi's hand. Boom. The entire arena instantly turned into a huge pit, spreading along with the audience seats, shattering into countless cracks. The war world suddenly fell again, and almost a quarter of the war world was pressed down by Badi under this blow. Chapter 335 The Watcher. The universe is actually finite. This finiteness does not refer to quantity, but to scope, distance, and size. Most universes are like a circle, cyclical, and there are also universes that are ultimately irregular in shape. Of course, they are very large. Even Mongo, a tyrannical existence in the universe, who drives the war world to kill everywhere and looks for various aliens to perform gladiatorial performances for him, has traveled across the universe for countless years, but he is only in a tiny corner and has never reached the border of the universe. It is conceivable that the universe is really big. Even Mongo, who can blow up planets, cannot explore it completely. In the multiverse, there are countless parallel universes, and perhaps they are just a little different, like a butterfly flapping its wings a little crooked, and a completely different universe is created. But these different universes all start from the same point, but with different trajectories, so they are called parallel universes. In some universes, perhaps Luthor and Superman are good friends. In some universes, perhaps Luthor and Superman are husband and wife. In some universes, perhaps Superman and Diana are lovers. In some universes, perhaps Superman and Batman have a relationship. In some universes, there is the Injustice League. In some universes, there is the Metal Event. In some universes, there is 0 Hour. In some universes, zombies are rampant. In some universes, there is the Crisis on Infinite Earths. In some universes, there is the Justice League versus the Avengers. Whether it is Supreme Superman, 5-dimensional Golden Superman, Quantum Superman, various Batman variants, etc., they are all real and different changes. It is worth mentioning that each parallel universe is distinguished by frequency, so the super high frequency action ability of the Speed Force can easily travel through parallel universes. Most people, in various ways of traveling through parallel universes, find the frequency of the parallel universe, and then start wormhole travel to reach other universes. No one has ever really reached the border of the universe, and walked out of the border of the universe. There is a distance between universes, which is material, not like the frame of movie, which is close and difficult to detect like the void. Beyond the border of the universe is the blood domain. The blood domain is actually a high-dimensional flowing medium that wraps the universe, just like the universe is wrapped in water. It connects and wraps all universes at a high latitude. Therefore, once someone reaches the boundary of the universe and travels out of the universe, they will enter the blood domain. Moving forward in the blood domain, you can find another physical universe and enter it. However, no one in the multiverse can do this, and they can't even reach the boundary. Therefore, all characters can only find the frequency of other universes, and rely on the frequency to open wormholes to travel through. At the top of each universe, there is a race of people who use powerful time and space shuttle machines to travel through the blood domain and absorb the super original liquid in the blood domain as their own nutrients. This is also the only one who can really use the speed of technology to reach the boundary of the universe, travel through the blood domain, and reach other universes. This is the Monitor. The Monitor clan has been responsible for monitoring each universe since ancient times. It is unknown how long it has been since ancient times. It is to ensure the correct operation of each universe. Each universe will have a positive monitor, leading many subordinates, located at the top boundary of the universe, between the cosmic membranes that intersect with the blood domain, to establish the monitor's domain, monitor the universe, and ensure the normal operation of the universe. Sometimes, the pollution source with fatal pollutants to the continuity of the universe will be removed, and the entire universe will be disinfected. But they will not interfere with the universe, the love and hatred in any universe, the survival of any race, and even the natural explosion, change, or explosion of stars are not within their jurisdiction. At the top of the universe, in the thin film space that intersects with the blood domain outside, the most dangerous alarm signal suddenly sounded in the monitoring hall of the Monitor. Director knock. The rejection reaction of the universe has been detected. There is a pollution source at the center of the universe. It is the highest level of cosmic rejection symptoms. A member of the Monitor clan who is responsible for monitoring the universe, the inspector made an urgent report. This is already an event that is highly harmful to the universe. Since they began to monitor the universe here, except for the birth of the universe, at the very beginning, many gods in the realm of gods entered this universe to compete for the source with projection. In countless years of the universe, the highest alarm signal has never sounded. Even the disputes among many gods have not sounded such a critical signal as it is now. The universe is in pain and rejects this source of pollution. Director Nock's skin was the color of an old tree, with wrinkles and lines. He was tall and thin, wearing high-tech armor, and standing in the huge interstellar projection hall of the Monitor. When he heard the report from his subordinates, his face changed on the spot, and he asked hurriedly, "Is it Dr. Manhattan?" Director Nock's face was abnormal, and his eyes flashed with strange colors. In his heart, he felt something was wrong. It couldn't be Dr. Manhattan. Since Dr. Manhattan stole the center of the universe for 10 years, he has used the quantum body and almost incarnated the universe. He did not harm the universe, and the universe would not reject a Dr. Manhattan who filled and repaired itself. However, the positive monitor of this universe, that is, the highest leader of their monitors, is an enemy of Dr. Manhattan. As for the reason, even Director Nock didn't know why the positive monitor asked them to hunt and search for a Dr. Manhattan who was beneficial to the universe. But Dr. Manhattan has a quantum body integrated into the universe and has infinite selves in the universe, making it difficult for the monitors to capture him. Even if they have extraordinary technological capabilities, they can only keep paying attention and searching, and have never found any trace of Dr. Manhattan. No, it's different from Dr. Manhattan's record. According to the Monitor's detection, it is the natural repulsion of the center of the universe and the information sent by the antimatter universe channel connecting other universes. The abnormally strong symptoms indicate that it is a single individual who has caused damage to the universe, making it unbearable for the universe. Something may penetrate the antimatter and positive matter universes. The Monitor stared at the screen report with his eyes fixed on the cosmic latitude coordinates at any time to show the turmoil of the universe. Send out search ships to confirm the source of pollution, destroyers to attack, and carriers to establish a stable transmission channel in the universe. Execute immediately. I will report to the positive monitor, Lord Mandrak. Director Nock's face suddenly changed. If Dr. Manhattan did not appear again, it meant that there was indeed a strange change in the center of the universe and a pollution source appeared. He waved his hand, gave orders, and stepped out of the monitor hall. Chapter 336 Surrender. The war world has been destroyed by 70%. Once a little power is released, Badi will involuntarily create a strong gravitational field with himself, twisting and pulling the space, which will cause the birth of a singularity centered on him, and a black hole vortex. Fortunately, in the end, after nearly 70% of the war world was destroyed, he finally pressed the jumping Mongo to the ground and beat him until he could not take care of himself. If he was not worried that the black hole that even Badi himself could not eliminate would appear and swallow the solar system when the battle power was fully opened, Badi would be enough to kill Mongo with one punch. Now, he can only limit his own power. After a long time, he defeated Mongo and pressed him to the ground. At the moment of defeating Mongo, Badi controlled his magnetic field, gravity and time, and at the moment the singularity appeared, he was immediately annihilated and did not cause a greater disaster again. On Earth, the legions led by Hera and General Ott began to enter the war world, preparing to transform the war world into a bridge to step out of the solar system and connect with many aliens. War World, Engine City, the only city that Badi deliberately avoided. This is an engine city that can drive the war world. In one of the research rooms, the metal covered the wall coldly. Badi sat on a chair. His posture was upright, sitting like a peak, as if he was the king of the entire starry sky. He stretched out his left hand horizontally, and Hera controlled the molecular combination magnet, and once again used the molecular structure technology to rearrange the armor that suppressed Badi's body magnetic field. In the entire battle with Mongo, he only used his exposed left hand and flattened Mongo with one hand. Now Badi's combat power is not something that opponents in the universe who can blow up planets can deal with. For someone like Mongo, only one hand is enough. The room was brightly lit, and the secretary type Hera pulled and drew with both hands, controlling the combined magnetic particles, and began to create at the root of Badi's armored arm, and continued to extend the lines to prevent Badi's magnetic field from leaking out. The magnetic particles began to press down towards the base of Badi's arm like a black tornado, and along the Emperor armor, reassembled the material armor. Even with Badi's efforts to limit his magnetic field, it was still a difficult project. If he was not careful, the magnetic field would be chaotic, and he would need to reset the restriction circuit of magic technology. Because Badi's magnetic field always looks terrifying, and unconsciously emits waves that disrupt space, which is difficult to control. Badi also knows this, so he tries to concentrate on controlling his magnetic field. Master, Brainiac just sent a message, hoping to surrender. Suddenly, the secretary type Hera, who was concentrating on constructing the armor, manipulated the particle reconstruction technology instrument and spoke while operating it. She has super multi-threaded operation, so it is not a problem to do a million things at the same time, so she can concentrate on operating the instrument and constructing the armor, and can talk without delaying things. Badi had a calm expression. He had been controlling the magnetic field he was emitting, keeping himself calm. He was only slightly surprised when he heard Hera's words. The particles on his arm were reconstructed and became unstable. The magnetic field exploded like a tornado. He quickly stiffened his body's limiting magnetic field again. I was going to Mars to surrender, Badi said, not like his style. He probably observed the battle of his master from Mars and had this idea. Brainiac has the most advanced wisdom in the universe, knows how to make choices, and understands that he does not have the capital to fight against his master, so he has other ideas. He hopes to get a drop of his master's blood. Hera said again. Okay, let his terminal come over and wait for me at the Imperial building. Badi's face was sneered. What Brainiac wanted was Badi's blood as the only god. This kind of thing that transcends the universe obviously aroused Brainiac's curiosity. Or maybe Brainiac knew from somewhere that Badi had transcended the universe and wanted to explore and understand it. He agreed. Hera said, her fingers moving, her eyes focused on the particle reconstruction. He wants to become my flesh and blood dependent? Badi was slightly surprised. Badi's blood has the effect of making others become his dependents and being controlled by him. Even if Brainiac is extremely wise and creates a terminal body with the power of Mongo, it is not enough to resist the power of Badi's blood. Just like Kanna. Kanna is a first generation dependent created by the spirit of Badi's flesh and blood. She is already a dependent under Bati's one god. And Ellie is a dependent under Kana. In terms of bloodline, she belongs to the second generation of dependents. Of course, this is just a mark of Bati. There is no limit to the power. It does not mean that the first generation is definitely stronger than the second generation and can definitely suppress the second generation. Unless Bati takes the initiative to set a limit on blood, otherwise, this will not happen. But the most important point is that life and death will be completely controlled by Bati. Bati only proposed a proposal that embarrassed Brainiac. Obviously, he didn't expect Brainiac to agree to it. What was he thinking? He plans to answer it when he sees the Master tomorrow. He has the smartest wisdom in the universe and won't do anything that doesn't benefit him. Bati nodded. Brainiac is indeed like this. He has the smartest mind and won't do anything that doesn't benefit him. Surrendering himself may mean that he has gained more benefits. In addition, Master, the Huorang and the Powering also hopes that you will create a body for him. He will swear allegiance to the Master. Hera's delicate face was serious and her brows were slightly frowned. Originally, she thought Huorang's idea was just to use Bati to create a body for him. This kind of body creation was enough for Hera Terminal, so she didn't report it to Bati immediately. Now from Brainiac's behavior, it seems that Huorang seems to want a body constructed by Bati's blood, not a body that needs to be created by Hera Terminal using technology. She noticed something unusual and immediately reported it to Bati. Okay, we'll deal with it tomorrow. Bati's eyes lit up, but he nodded in deep thought and said, the divine powering is the Green Lantern ring of Earth 3, and the fear of Earth 3 lives inside it. Since the group of Superba was recaptured, several people have had different fates. Superba is directly in the underground laboratory, cooperating with the research on his body structure. Super Queen, that is, Diana of Earth 3, wanted to seduce Bati, so she was directly exiled to the front line of the war by the women around Bati. Under General Otto, she became a soldier who charged into battle. Bati didn't know about this, and it was directly arranged by Little Hera. They could see that the Super Queen had a vicious mind and wanted to plot to become Bati's wife. How could Little Hera let her do what she wanted? In addition, there were many Super Queens in the Legion, and neither Bati nor Hera cared at all. Little Hera directly arranged to send them to the border and make them soldiers who charged into battle and faced the aliens on the front line. Night Owl was sent back to Earth 3 by Bati directly because of his calm personality and quick thinking to find the location of the Anti-Monitor and to serve as a sentinel for Bati to invade the Anti-Monitor. Green Lantern was weak and timid, so Bati ordered his subordinates to find him a mansion and let him stay at home and play games. He was happy to do so, and became the most speechless and useless person under Bati. As for his ring, it was taken away and connected to the Voron inside for communication. Voron has the ability to create a 7-color spectrum and possesses mysterious will technology knowledge, which can create the Lantern Ring. He once assisted the Guardians in creating the Lantern Ring, and even on Earth 3, it did not change. The will technology possessed by Voron is the existence that Bati has always wanted to understand. Obviously, he knows a lot of things and wants his own flesh and blood to build a body. At this time, Bati nodded slightly and faced up to his ability as the only god. It is not just the ability to destroy, but it seems that there is another ability that makes Brainiac and Voron excited. Chapter 337 Night Owl. Earth 3, Metropolis. It was desolate, with broken tiles and ruins, and no breath of life. Cars piled up on the road, emitting a burning smell, and wisps of black smoke twisted and rose up. The whole city was desolate, silent, and like a ruin. Looking back, one could vaguely see that the glorious and bustling buildings of the past had now turned into a mess of ruins, and black smoke kept rising around. On the highway, the black smoke of the cars rose, and the flames burned and twisted the air. From a distance, a black shadow gradually walked forward. He wore a mask like an owl's upper face, a black carafarma with traces of carvings, and a black cloak that fluttered and shook gently as he walked forward, as if lamenting the sadness of this world. He appeared and wandered like a black owl in the daytime. A trace of sadness flashed in the eyes of the night owl. The whole metropolis had no breath of life. It was desolate like a wilderness, and dead silent. A slight burning sensation seeped into his skin. The scorching heat around him burned the air. The air was so hot that it made people panic, but he suddenly felt cold in his heart. I guess Gotham is in the same situation. This world is over. In his calm wisdom and calm thinking, at this moment, he couldn't help but feel cold. Sadness flashed through his heart. Boom. In the distance behind him, a huge volcano scene erupted, and lava rushed into the sky, dyeing the sky red, serving as a background for his sad figure. He walked forward in sadness, his figure lonely, like a silent figure on a barren land. There is no volcano in Metropolis at all. It is the lava from the center of the earth that was hit by the New Jersey ground fissure. Night Owl was silent in his heart. The whole world was empty and as silent as death. Grey volcanic ash continued to fall from the sky, dyeing the ruins and his shoulders. He walked from the road to the center of Metropolis, lowering his head to avoid being contaminated by the volcanic ash, and when he arrived at the center of the city, Night Owl looked up at the old building. Once upon a time, the Syndicate built a world building here that belonged to them, and they ruled the world. And he used an iron fist to rule Gotham and implement the peace and justice he wanted. Now, the world building has collapsed and broken, revealing the charred steel roots and iron branches, and glass splattered all over the ground. Night Owl found the entrance from a corner. Ding. It came from the basement elevator he designed. After he connected the lines and hacked in, it was still usable. Night Owl's calm eyes narrowed slightly. In the elevator, the buttons had fingerprints, which were obviously different from the buttons on the F5 floor. They were brighter and not covered by dust around them. This proved that someone had entered the F5 floor, and not just once or twice. At this time, a muscular arm stretched out from the sky above the elevator shaft, holding an M9 pistol in his hand, pointing directly at Night Owl's head. The moment the muzzle touched Night Owl slowly raised his hands to show that he would not resist. Alexander Luthor. Night Owl raised his hands and said calmly. A sturdy figure flipped out from the top of the elevator shaft and jumped down to the elevator. He has beautiful hair that Lex doesn't have. He is the isotope of Earth 3, Lex. In addition to having hair, he is different from Lex in that he has the power of Earth 3 Shazam. But his slogan is the opposite, Zansha. After shouting Zansha, he can summon lightning to gain power and can absorb the power of the superpowered people he killed. So he killed superpowered people crazily on Earth 3, so strong that no one in the Syndicate can compete with him. In the end, he was set up by Night Owl and controlled and imprisoned using the Super Queen's lasso of submission. Night Owl, I didn't expect you to come back. Luthor's face was a little hideous, and the whole person was a little crazy. His fiery red hair covered his grinning expression. Thanks to you, I can only wait to die here, and wait for the end of the earth to come. He pointed a gun at Night Owl's head, and leaned close to Night Owl's ear with a crazy face. At this time, the elevator began to sink and slowly descended. I'm here to take you away, Luthor. We've found a parallel world, where we can survive and avoid Mobius. Night Owl said calmly. After saying this, he felt as if the tip of the gun was going to drill into his flesh, and Luthor pushed it hard into his skin. But Luthor, with his red hair suddenly thrown back, laughed crazily at the sky. Do you think I will believe you? Luthor's eyes were bloodshot, and he pulled the trigger of the pistol, saying ferociously, your life is in my hands. He pushed the pistol forward again, deep into Night Owl's skin. You already believe me, Luthor. There is only one way to die here. Night Owl was unmoved by the danger. In fact, this Luthor's IQ was very average, and he had been played around by Night Owl many times. Night Owl's intelligence was enough to convince Luthor with his words. Night Owl's words just hit Luthor's soft spot. He had no way to leave here, and he was really doomed. Now he could only hide everywhere, not daring to transform into Zansha, so as not to attract the attention of Mobius, hiding underground like a mouse. We found a world. Get the consent of the owner of that world, and live in that world. And I was sent by the owner of that world again to find Mobius. He wants to fight Mobius. Night Owl said calmly. There was no lie in what he said, but it vaguely gave Luthor an illusion that the fisherman benefited from the quarrel between the snipe and the clam. So, you found me, and are going to use me? Luther's eyes flashed with an unknown murderous light. No one knew Luther's thoughts better than Night Owl. Yes, this is also your chance, Luther. Only by finding Mobius can you enter that world and safely pass the moment of death. Unless you really want to die in this world, be devoured by Mobius, and become the experimental guinea pig for his next life program. The elevator suddenly sank, and the doors opened to both sides. Night Owl ignored Luther's gun, and walked straight out of the elevator, then frowned. This was originally his experiment and research institute, clean and tidy, but now it has been messed up by Luther. Various bags, boxes, and piles of food picked up from the supermarket are piled up on one side. The environment has a musty smell and the ventilation is quite poor. Luther's face changed. His IQ cannot be compared with Night Owl. He is just a normal person. It is normal to be afraid of death. In any case, with his power, he asked himself that he would not be bad wherever he went. He has the abilities of many superpowered people on Earth 3, and the powerful syndicate cannot compete with him. Of course, his IQ is a little bit worse. Night Owl, take me to that world. Otherwise, I don't mind shooting you to death. Luther's face suddenly became ferocious, and he pointed his pistol at Night Owl. Night Owl glanced back at Luther, put down his raised hands, and said calmly, "You can try." Luther's face became more and more ferocious, and the pistol in his hand was like 1,000 pounds of iron, shaking constantly and struggling fiercely in his heart. Finally, he sighed weakly, lowered his arms, and said unwillingly, "I want to conquer that world. Night Owl, I promise you anything. Take me away. We have to find Mobius before we can go to that world." How to find it? You need to transform into *Zensha. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338 Brainiac, the Fearless Emperor Building. Brainiac has green skin and eyes as black as ink, which contain deep wisdom. It seems that you can see his non-stop thinking from his eyes at any time, flashing cunning, insidious, greed, jealousy, hatred, and all these negative information are frightening. Unlike Badi's artificial intelligence Hera, it takes love as the starting point, and evolves into concrete emotions. Brainiac was created on Comet Core. After self-evolution and replication, he did not receive many correct guidance. Instead, he used various calculations and carrier programs to the extreme. He not only controlled the scientists of the entire Comet Core, but also conquered the entire planet in an attempt to obtain a greater program upgrade. In the process of continuous upgrading, he not only evolved his own abilities, but also initially evolved his own negative emotions, greed, jealousy, and hatred. With this as the starting point, he became the enemy of all life. In the end, when he thought that his wisdom no longer needed the so-called biological scientists, he directly destroyed his entire home planet and built his own technological planet in the universe. He wandered around in the universe, looking for citizen species in different regions that he was interested in, shrinking them and studying them. At the beginning, his sentinels had detected the Earth and listed the Earth and Badi as valuable collection items. He traveled from the universe to the Earth. However, when he came to the Earth, Badi was already eating dirt in the Speed Force, and he was directly hit by Hera. In the confrontation between the two, he found that there was no way to invade the Earth network, so he put it aside and occupied Mars first in preparation for a long-term war and observation of the Earth. When Mongo failed without any surprise and was easily beaten by Badi, he detected this scene through the space telescope and used his own terminal to calculate Badi's combat effectiveness. Almost every bit of the power displayed by Badi in the magnetic field response bursting out of his pores were completely calculated by him. Without hesitation, he decided to surrender. "I have invaded several ancient races in the universe, and we have recorded the moment when this universe was born. There are gods beyond the universe, fighting for something. They came from the outside world, from a kind of divine realm. With a wave of their hands, they can easily destroy galaxies and use their own magnetic fields to create black holes and white holes. They are so powerful that they can destroy many galaxies in the universe. Your Majesty, you are very much like those gods. I was born in this universe, and it is difficult for me to leave this universe. I long for knowledge from the outside world, long for invasion, and to obtain everything from the outside world. I'm willing to submit to your flesh and blood, and become a researcher under your command. You have the ability to leave the universe. Please take me with you. I want to gain more knowledge. Brainiac's pair of black eyes were surprisingly sincere and eager. He had wandered in the universe for many years, and had never seen a body as powerful as Badi, who could create black holes with a wave of his hands. This was very similar to the information he had obtained. When the universe was first opened, there were people from the godlike realm who obtained something in this universe and then left. He explored the world with technology, and observed the world with science, but Brainiac could not know what that thing was, but he knew that many records might be true. Because he saw Badi, it was as if he saw that he could leave this universe, and reach knowledge that could not be explored or explained by technology elsewhere. Learning made him happy, and knowledge fascinated him. He was greedy for everything. Jealousy and hatred for what he did not have came from his instinct and wisdom. I'm willing to give up everything I have, including my freedom. Please take me to explore other areas. Brainiac lowered his head. His wisdom told him that he could not fight against the existence that could easily create black holes with a wave of his hand, even if 10,000 years passed. Because his use of technology has reached the height of this universe, there is no way to detect and understand Badi's existence, and why Badi is so awesome. Therefore, his wisdom made the most correct and most profitable choice: surrender. Brainiac knelt down in front of Badi. Likewise, he was not the only one. Beside him, there was a divine powering floating up and down. A white shadow appeared in the virtual mist. It was the first generation lantern of Earth 3, Huorang. He was also kneeling down. A voice came out from the misty shadow. Your Majesty, I'm also willing to give up everything I have, and become your dependent. Huorang lowered his head with a deep desire. He knew more than Brainiac, and even understood what kind of existence Badi was. Even if his life and death were controlled by Badi, becoming Badi's dependent would be a matter of endless benefits. It was simply a pie in the sky. Therefore, he was more excited and eager than Brainiac. Badi looked at the two people kneeling in front of him playfully. The sun shone from behind him, reflecting his towering armor. The shadow like a mountain stretched and covered him. He looked down from a high place, overlooking the starry sky, and looked at the two people. Okay, I will do your job. In an instant, 2 drops of blood appeared from the Emperor's armor, floating in Badi's hand, distorting the air. 2 drops of blood flew towards Brainiac and Huorang. Huorang was excited, and got rid of the powering directly. He came out of it, and met the blood. In an instant, it flowed like mercury. The blood frantically added flesh and blood to form bone marrow. The bone marrow produced blood to form bones, internal organs, and the internal organs appeared in the chest cavity. Then there were fibers, fat, and skin, which appeared one by one. In the end, Huorang turned into a handsome boy with fair skin. He looked at his hands excitedly, and touched his skin. His face flushed with excitement. It is indeed the only god. I'm the first generation of followers. The first generation. He was so excited that he was almost crazy. His eyes were full of strong red light and the blood in his body surged wildly. Then he knelt down suddenly and thanked loudly. Thank you, Your Majesty. Brainiac next to him also merged into the blood, and the blood also transformed him. However, I don't know if it was because of Badi's subconscious influence. Brainiac had green skin, and 2 tentacles grew on the top of his forehead. It feels like the Devil Piccolo. In addition, a surge of enlightenment surged into his head. This was the information contained in the only divine cell, which instantly made him understand what kind of affiliation he had become. This was a god that transcended the universe. On the spot, he also knelt down, his dark eyes filled with ecstasy. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your gift. Chapter 339. Guardians of the Universe, Olympian Gods. O A-star. On the highest peak, there sat 7 blue-skinned people. They wore long robes, the hem of which was 10 meters longer than their height. They were as tall as children. Their blue-skinned faces were filled with the lingering silence and decay of the vicissitudes of life. Their eyes were silent and motionless. They had experienced too much, from the beginning of the universe to the present countless years. Although their bodies looked like blue children, their hearts had already experienced so much that it was difficult for them to be moved. The Green Lantern Corps is ready, assembled, and ready to go out and attack the Earth at any time. One of the Cosmic Guardians said calmly, his small hands inserted into each other's wide sleeves, his face calm, his eyes raised, looking at the other Guardians, and continued, "But I stopped it." The other Cosmic Guardians were silent. On this highest peak, the atmosphere seemed to be silent, dull, and uneasy, and heavy in the heart. "You can't stop them. The monitors have sent a message asking us to join them in attacking the Earth. There has been no news from them for a long time. Are they showing up now? Is there really a source of pollution on Earth? It needs to be cleared." Not necessarily. Even after endless years in the universe, can you still forget what the monitors have done? It's just Mandrak, just one person, can't be implicated in the entire monitor clan. Just him alone, in this universe, is a clan. He's too crazy. Are you referring to the incident with that guy with a blue quantum body, who doesn't wear clothes all day and exposes his big genitals? Ike, be civilized with your language. We all know what he wants to do, but we don't have the ability to stop it. From Mandrak guiding Corona to explore the mystery of the origin of the universe, he ignored the ban and began to forcibly study it, causing an explosion that led to the multiverse and antimatter universe. Based on this universe, he succeeded. Today, it has already begun. The blue guy without clothes is the victim, and it's difficult for him to even show up. The Guardians of the Universe originated from the planet Maltus. They are the earliest intelligent life forms in the universe, and they possessed advanced technology and civilization a long time ago. They have witnessed the projections of many unique gods fighting in this universe, and the wars that are the source of disputes. This is also the reason why the remaining people of the Maltus star created the planet OA, and used the Green Lantern Corps to protect the universe. A deep sense of powerlessness appeared in their hearts. This is a long-lasting worry that has always been lying in their hearts. Mandrak, as a positive monitor, monitors this universe and even guides it, resulting in the multiverse and antimatter universe of this universe being generated, based on this universe, and revolving around this universe. When everything ends and everything returns to one, he will also evolve into a pseudo-unique god and gain power that is equal to that of the only god. We can contact Darkseid's projection in this world. His projection destroyed the new Genesis Starfather who projected into this world with him long before the ancient eternal universe century, condensed the godhead of this universe, and represented a part of the universe's will. He can stop Mandrak. It's useless. This universe is not worth mentioning to Darkseid. Maybe he will also intervene to destroy the universe for pleasure. After all, it is of some use. The Watchers and Destroyers like Darkseid are natural opponents. Even Darkseid is a source of pollution in the universe. I believe Darkseid's clone doesn't mind hitting him twice. Maybe we can use the Black Lantern ring. One of the Universe Guardians, Scarface, said in a calm voice. Hearing the Black Lantern, the other Universe Guardians breathed. They actually hadn't seen the Black Death Emperor, but they knew deeply that everything has two sides. The end of life is death, and the end of the universe is nothingness, darkness, and death, which is a representative of the Black Death Emperor. Among all the lantern rings, the Black Lantern ring is a taboo. Once it appears, the universe will fall into darkness, and they cannot find white lanterns to fight against it. So, let's discuss it later. A Guardian exhaled heavily, neither agreeing nor opposing. If at the last moment, when they really cannot stop Mandrak, they don't mind letting the Black Death Emperor appear and stop Mandrak with the death of this universe. In addition, we can release the first lantern disaster. Gather all the lantern groups. We must control them all. We can't be Mandrak's pawns and sentinels. Find the gods who won the war of the gods in the universe. It seems that the Olympus gods finally won this battle miserably. They fell into a deep sleep and cannot be found in the space opened up in this universe. Olympus God Realm. On the majestic Olympus peak, there stand 12 statues of the main gods of Olympus. The statues are like real gods. Every hair is fluttering in the air, real to the extreme. Apollo's sunny temperament. Artemis's cold moonlight eyes. Aphrodite's beauty and sexiness. Athena's intelligence, Hera's ladylike temperament, and so on. And the majestic figure led by Zeus, the king of gods, holding high the thunder spear of the king of gods, standing here. Suddenly, crack, a huge thunder suddenly sounded in the space of Olympus, which is always sunny. A silver white lightning appeared from the clear sky and struck the tip of Zeus' thunder spear. Suddenly, the electric current flowed like a silver white snake, wiping across many statues. Starting with Zeus, the statues changed color, took off a layer of flying ash, and revealed the true bodies of all the people in Olympus. Hey, the rest is finally over. Athena stretched her waist, raised her hands high, stretched lazily, and outlined beautiful lines in the sun with an elegant breath. Many other Olympian gods had strange expressions. Some were helpless, and some yawned, as if they had just fallen asleep. We shouldn't wake up now. It's not the end of this universe yet, and it's not time to harvest the last wave of sources. Who cares? I just want to drink some wine and have a cocktail party. Is anyone coming? My awakening means the war is coming. What do you want to do? My original bodies. Zeus, what's wrong with you? Queen Hera was standing aside. Her arms were as white as lilies, and her beautiful curly hair flowed out from under her crown. She showed a peaceful and puzzled expression, and her beautiful eyes looked at Zeus. Zeus's tall body, naked upper body, holding a thunder spear in his hand, frowning. He received a message from his original body in the realm of gods. Win over. What does this mean? Is there anything worthy of the Olympian gods to win over in this universe? Chapter 340, Clearing Up Doubts. Emperor Building. On the bottom floor, Hera Terminal, Brainiac, Furion, Kanna, Ellie, Raven, Pamela, Jenny. Badi was wearing the Emperor's armor, holding a ball of light in his hand, staring intently, rubbing his chin with his other hand, looking at the ball of light in his hand thoughtfully. Your Majesty, this is the system built according to what you said. Furion's young, fair face was full of fanaticism. Well, technology is a technology embodied in thought. The highest limit of this technology is to see how much a thought can expand, how strong a life form is, and how much it can bear the power of will. Spirit is the most basic. Soul is the degree to which the will is strong. And the last thought is width. How big the thought is, how big the will technology can be. With your Majesty's current qualification as the only god, in fact, one thought is enough to destroy the universe, and destroy it from the fundamental information of the universe. There is no need for such a troublesome physical attack. The universe simply cannot carry all of your Majesty's strength information. And this system is your Majesty's way to conquer the entire universe, expand to other universes, and control all life and all thoughts. Badi nodded slightly. Ever since the surrender of Huorong and Brainiac, especially Huorong, who brought will technology to Badi, not only did he directly create the Seven Lanterns Legion for Badi. At Badi's suggestion, Hera, Brainiac, Raven, Kanna, Ellie, Jenny, and his exceptional scientific research team in the terminal cooperated with Huorong and used Badi's thinking to create a thinking system in the virtual time acceleration of the Speed Force. A system like a plague will be based on Badi, spreading continuously, extending subsystems, conquering and invading the universe for Badi. Then, other unique gods should also be able to create such a system, right? Badi frowned slightly. This system was used by him to prepare to dominate the entire universe. He didn't want to be easily cracked or damaged by others. That's not the case, Your Majesty. First, we need to understand what the unique god is. Badi was stunned. What is the unique god? Badi really didn't know that he became the only one because he was accidentally brought into the Speed Force by the Flash. Countless copies of his time self overlapped into his body and mind, forcing him to completely merge his soul with his body and become a unique god with evolutionary characteristics. The so-called uniqueness means that everything returns to one point. Everyone is not a pure person. Every person's soul, every spiritual particle, thought, thinking, cell, and gene are homogeneous and similar. There are other people in every person. This is a reincarnation. In fact, everyone is not himself, but others and himself. This is reincarnation. In the infinite universe, infinite repetition of death, dissipation, and infinitely becoming a hair on someone else's body, a cell, a spiritual thought, a bit of soul, a bit of thinking, and a bit of information. So, in fact, everyone is a point formed by the reincarnation of countless people, becoming a person who thinks he has his own thoughts. In fact, he is everyone, and also the self, that he thinks he is. And the only God is to find himself from countless reincarnated people and countless individuals, to strongly plunder himself, to gather himself, to achieve himself, and to achieve the only. There is no same unique God. And if there is a similarity, it means that the two unique gods are each other, and they must plunder the other's information back to themselves to be the only, the self. So it is the only one. Huo Rang said with a fanatical expression. He knew a lot of information about the one and only God. He had experienced a long time in the universe. He was suppressed by the Guardian for 10 billion years. He spent the rest of the time wandering in the universe. He knew more than the Guardian of the universe. Even on Earth 3, there were gods who entered the universe at the beginning, to compete for the origin, and make themselves stronger. These words made everyone present shudder. Brainiac's green face changed first, the two antennas on his forehead trembled, and he said with horror, "You mean, I'm not completely myself, I have the characteristics of other people, and it is even possible that one day, there will be a one God who will become me, and I will not know it, and I will think it is him, and I will disappear and think it is normal." Huo Rang nodded, praising Brainiac's amazing wisdom. Yes, even in infinite universes, you have infinite different Brainiacs. This kind of thing is not strange at all. Although it is creepy, it is the fact. Now you have become His Majesty, the one God's vassal, belonging to His Majesty. You are you, His Majesty, not others, and you will not be plundered by other you. Badi suddenly realized that he finally understood why he evolved into the one God. It was not because countless copies of himself merged with themselves and completely integrated into his body in the speed force, plus his soul had the unique characteristics. After countless selves merged into the body, the unique characteristics directly evolved, directly merged with excessive copies of himself, and forcibly evolved to become the one God. The other so-called unique gods, who do not have unique attributes, can only plunder themselves from other people in the infinite universe little by little to make themselves unique. This process can be described as a desperate process. On the contrary, Badi became the only god with ease, which made people jealous and envious. This is a system created according to your thinking, Your Majesty. It has your unique will, which other unique gods do not have. On the contrary, because your unique god characteristics are evolution, you have physical characteristics, and there is no such thing as a soul. In other words, your body is a soul, and the soul projection cannot be separated. Therefore, Your Majesty, you cannot project into other universes and plunder the origin, to become powerful for yourself. And this system is your alternative projection, Your Majesty. Enter all organisms with thinking, all of you. Badi's face was satisfied, and the light ball in his hand immediately turned into a ray of light, which directly penetrated into Badi's forehead, and was created by Badi's real thinking. In an instant, countless rays of light emanated from Badi's forehead again. Countless thought systems emanated from Badi's forehead, and began to spread from the center of the universe, the Earth, to every space in the universe. Mount Olympus. Zeus, who had just awakened, was wondering who to win over when an inexplicable wave penetrated into his head. Congratulations host, bind the Overlord system. Please complete the novice task, the deadline for winning over is 3 days. Reward, open the system. Failure, eliminate. Zeus was shocked. Oh A star. On the highest peak, there were 3 universe guardians with shocked faces. They were bound to the task system, evolution system, and technology system respectively. They were forcibly issued tasks subordinate to their own thoughts, tasks to embark on their own evolutionary path, and tasks to collect all technologies and obtain rewards. This can be said to have frightened them to the extreme. What is this? Damn, what is this thing? It claims that, if I don't complete the task, it will erase me. This is Mandrak trying to control us. Chapter 341 Cognition. Emperor's Mansion. Badi sat on the throne, his spine like a peak. Although he didn't look tall when he sat, he made people feel that the world was running around him. He was the pillar of heaven standing here. No matter who looked at him, they felt as if they were standing at the foot of the mountain, looking at the giant peak. He sat quietly with his eyes closed like a giant. His right hand, the index finger gently tapped on the throne, and the sharp steel armor fingertips and the crystal clear throne gently made a crisp and long tapping sound. There was no one here. Only the sound. Ding, ding, ding. In an instant, Badi's thoughts spread, and he began to understand the one God, and what kind of existence he was as the one God. In an instant, he felt the stupidity of only knowing how to use power before. The one God was more advanced than the life he imagined, beyond the so-called dimensional life. Even high-dimensional life would yearn to be the only one. In countless cartoons, movies, and even novels, all the fragmented wills of all people appear in scattered forms. Perhaps that is a piece of information that cannot be discovered. Only the one can discover it and absorb it back to enhance the one's power. The so-called reincarnation in the East does not really have 6 reincarnations. The 6 reincarnations are only the surface of the real reincarnation, which is the surface of the control of the Eastern heaven. The real reincarnation is not like this. Simply put, when you die, your body disappears, your soul disappears, and every particle of information about you will jump, perhaps in the physical world, perhaps in movies, novels, and comics, and the infinite reciprocating reincarnation will become a spiritual soul of someone else's existence. Countless spiritual souls will form a new life. This is a real reincarnation. Even the one cannot understand this shocking reincarnation. When Badi first perceived it, he was shocked. This is no longer the so-called energy level or physical level. He didn't even have the opportunity to detect it, and it was difficult to face the reincarnation. And extracting your own information from this real infinite reincarnation is the key to achieving the one. The only way to increase power is one of the few, which is to gather all the external information about oneself. This is an infinite number, difficult to be counted. When all the uniques gather their information back to themselves, at that time, they will become indescribable, unspeakable, indescribable, invisible, omniscient, and omnipotent God. From this, according to what Badi knows, the God of DC Comics is not the real God. He is just walking on an indescribable unique road, walking ahead of any unique, and it can even be said that there is a problem, which leads to the appearance of the giant beast. As for the real situation, Badi is not clear, but speculates based on his own information and comics. Boom. There seems to be a sound in Badi's mind. It is his own thinking, forming a system. His thinking builds a source system, spreading to the universe like a plague. All life forms and consciousnesses with emotions and thoughts can make all his derived subsystems produce subsystems according to personal thoughts and consciousness, and firmly occupy the thinking of life. In almost a breath, it surpassed the entire Milky Way and implanted his system, spreading in this universe like a plague. The implanted consciousness exceeded more than 1,000 streams. Or 1,000 streams. How many units are that? We start from the single digits. Single, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion, 10 trillion, 100 trillion, 1 trillion, and then to 10 jing, 100 jing, 1000 jing, gay, 10 gay, 100 gay, 1000 gay, z, 10 z, 100 z, 1000 z, rang, 10 rang, 100 rang, 1000 rang, ditch, 10 ditch, 100 ditch, 1000 ditch, stream, 10 streams, 100 streams, 1000 streams, and the number is already unimaginable for humans. But even so, it is just a drop in the ocean. All the conscious life forms in the system that Badi spread and implanted are existences that possesses information, existences that have priority and are selected. In other words, all those implanted by the system are actually the existence of Badi. Having Badi's information is equivalent to Badi in another parallel time and space, but it is just a very weak version. So weak that it can't derive its own consciousness at all, but gives birth to various consciousnesses of other aggregates. With Badi's current thinking level, it is enough to absorb all of them back. But this is simply an infinite project. It is not a simple matter to absorb them back into itself one by one. First of all, a subjective consciousness must be absorbed without regrets. Otherwise, it will pollute itself with the information of other people, making it as uncomfortable as eating shit. What's more, it is unknown how much time it will take. At this moment, Badi finally understood why there are always some unique gods who want to destroy the universe and the world, because it is too troublesome to deal with these tiny individuals one by one and absorb them. It is the most correct way to pack them together and swallow them in one bite. This is also a desperate and cruel practice that completely disregards the impurities of the polluted consciousness. These impurities may also be their food. The most obvious ones are obviously a group of guys in hell, such lawless existences as Sangan. Why is the multiverse always plagued by disasters? It is inseparable from the manipulation of these unique gods. Of course, there are other ways to increase power, and they are more significant, so the multiverse can still survive. That is the source. The source that gathers a lot of information can enrich the power of the unique god. It is more powerful than absorbing these infinite consciousness individuals. It is also the source of energy pursued by the unique god in this world. As for the others, they are just extras, daily desserts, and they are eaten when bored. A virtual map of the universe is spreading out in Badi's mind with the Earth as the center. Cygnus, Aquila, Vulpecula, Sagittarius, Ophiuchus, Scutum, Sagittarius, Scorpius, Era, Norma, Lupus, Triangulum, Cercinus, Musca, etc. All galaxies and constellations are gradually collected by Badi's system, forming a cosmic star map of the universe. The star map gradually extends out. Then, Badi suddenly sees something more interesting. A cosmic guardian was wiped out because he failed to complete his mission by Badi's system. From the perspective of thinking, he was wiped out by the system. All his memories were transmitted to Badi's source system by the subsystem. Badi looked through them and learned about the cosmic guardians and the monitors. Now, because the cosmic guardians suspect that the monitors were responsible, they have summoned the 7 Lantern Corps that they can and started a fight with the monitors. Badi slowly opened his eyes. His deep eyes seemed to contain the entire universe. It seemed that the universe was opened up in an instant, giving birth to countless things. There was a smile in his eyes. Interesting. Chapter 342 Arrival. A-Star. The Guardian of the Universe, Gunther. He is short in stature, with the characteristics of a Guardian of the Universe. His face is vicissitudes, and his eyes contain more emotions than other Guardians of the Universe. While other Guardians of the Universe have given up most of their emotions over the long years, he still maintains his strong emotions and focuses on maintaining peace in the universe and protecting the universe. Like the other 2 Guardians, he was suddenly implanted in his mind by the system and could not break free. One Guardian thought that no one could hurt him and did not do what the system said. As a result, he was wiped out when the time limit was up. On A-Star, in Valhalla, the remaining Guardians of the Universe had a little anger on their faces, which was not like the anger of their friends who had died after countless years. They were angry only because of their feelings and rarity. This expression, like a child's anger, was already their greatest anger. The monitors are too much of a bully. They treat us as their brothers and sisters and use us at will. The Legion has been assembled. The will of this universe will not lose to these guys who have been monitoring us. Mandrak is ambitious. He wants to be the only one just like this. He has always been a subordinate of the main monitor. There is no way for him to be the only one. He can only obtain the power of the only one in this way. The Guardians, with blue faces, were angry and their eyes showed cold anger. They once gave up most of their emotions and maintained the peace of the universe for countless years, but there are still some things that can touch their hearts and make them angry. Ganser had a calm blue face. His face was more vicissitudes than other Guardians. His temples were grey, and he had more emotions than other Guardians. He was one of the members of the Guardians who firmly opposed giving up emotions. He was also one of the people who were bound to the technology system. After completing the novice mission and handing in some unimportant technologies, he became the host of the technology system and coexisted with the system. At the same time, he had a preliminary understanding of the technology system. This is a system that can integrate various technologies and give birth to some other technological creations. It is so strange that he was shocked and worried. The remaining one is the female Guardian Seed who is also close to him. She obtained the evolution system. After tasting the sweetness, she has the so-called evolutionary power. Her physical strength is higher than before. Ganser, I don't think it's that simple. Seed's blue face showed feminine softness and health. This is because she obtained the evolution system. The system helped her evolve her body to a certain extent, making her special and different from other cosmic guardians. There is a deep worry on her face. I think someone wants to control us. Ganser put his hands into the sleeves of his robe, with the vicissitudes of life on his face and a quiet anger in his eyes. The death of the cosmic guardian did not make him lose his mind. On the contrary, it made him analyze things more calmly. The system was too incredible. With their technology of using will, and using will technology, they couldn't find out where the system existed in their will. It completely ignored their technology, and didn't find any problems. This was simply terrifying. The system was just like their own thinking, which made them unbelievable. Sometimes he felt like an illusion, but it was the fact. Yeah. Seed frowned. She was like a little blue girl, making people feel cute. She stood beside Ganser. Her eyes were fixed on Ganser, with an indelible worry. Even so, it is a higher existence than us. We can't even find the reason for the system. They have done many tests, but they didn't test the existence of any system. Only they can feel it. She looked at Ganser with close concern, and her emotions almost turned into actual worries. Ganser's childlike figure felt deeply powerless. He didn't know what kind of great existence created this creation, which made him feel flustered. He pursed his thin lips, raised his chin slightly, raised his chest a little, took a deep breath, closed his eyes, thought and worried. His body trembled. His hands were in his sleeves. His knuckles were clenched white. It only took a few seconds. Ganser took a deep breath in an instant. Suddenly, his slightly trembling body stopped, and he slightly opened his eyes, as if he had finally arrived at his destination after a long-distance bus ride, and he felt relieved when he got off the bus. Then, in an instant, he exuded an aura that did not belong to him, as if the whole world was revolving around him. Of course, this was just an illusion for a moment. Ganser. Seed had been near Ganser, and seeing Ganser's sudden change, her face was filled with surprise and doubt, and her heart suddenly turned into frantic thoughts. An extremely strong sense of crisis, a sense of foreshadowing death in her heart, caused goosebumps to rise on her blue skin. Her heart was cold and extremely terrified, and suddenly burst out. Almost in the next moment, she recognized that this was not Gander. You are not. Seed's face was horrified. Her pupils contracted, and she screamed. She had been with Gander for countless years, and had a close relationship with Gander. She knew everything about Gander, every bit of it. Suddenly, Gander turned his face, and the smile on his vicissitudes of life was sunny and helpless, but it gave Seed an extremely cold and frightening feeling. The next moment, Seed's eyes were filled with fear. Before she finished speaking, her mind was destroyed by the system. The whole person, the blue body, began to turn into particles from the feet and gradually dissipated in the air. Badi did not expect that he would be discovered after just the first arrival. This kind of arrival is based on the information of Badi and Gander. The implanted system transmission, the thought transmission descended into Gander's mind, resulting in the arrival led by Badi. In fact, from a physical point of view, Gander has not changed. Any soul, consciousness, has not changed, but now it is led by Badi and becomes Badi. Invisibly, the former Ganser has already quietly ceased to exist. It is not killing, nor disappearing, but all the information gathered together, forming Ganser, has been transformed into Badi, and he no longer exists. Badi also has all the memories of Ganser in the past, which cannot affect him. He can choose to continue to exist as Ganser, or he can do whatever he wants. Of course, if he wants to truly absorb and collect the information belonging to Badi from Ganser, he needs to complete Ganser's wishes, obsessions, wishes, and last wishes, so that other messy information can be spread away without worrying about the consequences, so that Badi can collect his own information. This is a very troublesome thing, because Badi realized that Ganser's wish was too big. Protect the universe, the peace of the universe, protect the OA star, find out the conspirators behind the system. Badi shook his head gently, helpless. He didn't know how to protect the universe alone. He had to rule the entire universe, and it would take some time, and he also wanted the peace of the universe and the protection of the OA star. The time span was too long. It was like becoming a nanny. However, Badi had fulfilled the last wish of finding the conspirator of the system. He absorbed so little information that he could not calculate it. Badi was too lazy to fulfill Gundar's last wish. The information in Gundar's body was directly abandoned by Badi. Anyway, it was so little, not even a hair, so he was too lazy to deal with it. He just wanted to try the method of the one god to absorb his information, and did not intend to do such a troublesome thing. Next, it was the interesting moment. Gundar smiled. Chapter 343 Zeus, Emperor Building. Badi slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, as if sweeping across a galaxy. He tried to descend initially, and the descended person, without the slightest resistance, automatically transformed into him. With his strength of mind, there would be no resistance to descending to anyone other than the bloodline of the one god. As for the other one gods, and the followers of the other one gods, they were pure without impurities, and without his information, they could not descend. Of course, it is also possible to implement system forced binding, physical destruction, and annihilation. He obtained a huge memory from the universe guardian Gundar, and had a clear understanding of the origin of this universe and the 3000 sectors. He did not do anything, but just looked at the book of OA sealed on the OA star, and then saw the sealed HUO rung in this universe, and then provoked the emotions of the Green Lantern Corps, strengthened the equipment strength of the Green Lantern Corps and the other color corps, and boosted their morale, so that they would start to fight to the death with the spacecraft sent by the monitor, and then Gundar heroically blocked a live missile for the OA star, and then he was gone. This was just a casual game for Badi. He didn't care about life outside the Earth, and he had no mercy at all. His subsystem had spread to the universe, and it was so wide that it had surpassed the area known by the Guardians of the Universe, and he had truly seen the boundaries of the universe. Even the ordinary members of the Watcher clan had Badi's system. As for the true Watchers, they were already high generation followers of the one god, the Lord Watcher, and they were not something Badi could invade. The followers of the one god were already close to the one god, and became pure. Without his information, they could not transform into themselves. But still, there was something strange. Why would Zeus's projection be affected? Badi felt a little confused. Wasn't Zeus the one god? Badi rubbed the armrests lightly, making a sound of metal sliding, and pondered for a while. HUO wrong. How is the Lantern Group prepared? Badi said in a majestic voice. There was no one here, but HUO wrong heard the call of the Lord from his heart. HUO wrong, who was making the energy center of the main lantern ring in the underground center, had a slight stern expression on his face. He immediately turned around and bowed in the direction of the metropolis and replied, with Kanna's cooperation, we have found the appropriate energy sources for the lantern rings of various colors. The lantern rings are being produced. It is estimated that in 7 hours, there will be 200,000 soldiers who will become lantern ring warriors of various colors. Very good. 1 day later, you will lead the lantern group to occupy OA star. Take over all sectors, and start conquering from OA star to absorb new warriors. I want the entire universe to be my territory. Yes. As Badi himself became more and more powerful, all his subordinates and the lives he ruled seemed to be a little less in number. Even if he completely opened up the birth policy, and rewarded those who gave birth, it was still too few to rule the universe. How can the Earth conquer the universe with a population of more than 8 billion? The 8 billion people scattered in the universe are simply dust, so small that they are less than dust. Take Kanna with you. Don't let her go crazy on the dolphin. Tell her to catch all the light beasts. Badi said casually, and banished Kanna to the battlefield of OA. This spirit of existence has been having a great time on Earth. Riding the space dolphin and Ellie, he is completely like a crazy kid. It has greatly hindered the operation of the projects under Badi. Several air-level construction and research projects have been destroyed by fireworks, making Badi's subordinates dare not speak out. They can't beat them, so they are very angry. There have been several complaints, and they have been helplessly complained to Badi. He sent her to catch light beasts and let her go crazy in the universe. Then, Badi summoned Brainiac again, and gave Brainiac the task of creating a space signal base station with the solar system as a center, based on the technology collected and counted by the source system. In the future, this universe will have a unified network, and will no longer be limited by region. After everything was arranged, Badi slowly closed his eyes again. Olympus God Peak. In the magnificent and majestic temple, Zeus held the thunder spear and sat on the throne. His brows were puzzled. Novice mission, win over. Remaining time 37 hours, 12 minutes and 24 seconds. This so-called system, time has been passing. Zeus is not afraid of the so-called erasure. He is just a projection clone here. Even if he dies, it is nothing more than all the memories returning to the main body in the realm of God. The strange thing is, what is this system? He was puzzled. This projection of himself was seriously injured in the battle for the source with many gods at the beginning of the universe. Until now, he has not been able to recover. For a while, he was not surprised that this kind of parasitic thing parasitized his weak body. However, it seems that he has never seen this kind of model. Not the flesh, not the spirit, not the soul. The depth of this system is completely beyond his detection. Even if it is the only one, there is no way to invade myself. Zeus suddenly felt a thump in his heart. The next moment, he blinked his eyes, just like the world, from the scorching sun to the dark curtain immediately. Between the opening and closing of his eyes, it was day and darkness. When he opened his eyes, Zeus regained his composure, and his face was no longer puzzled. He was already Badi. In an instant, the memory of Zeus's projection was accepted by Badi. Badi understood the situation of this universe more deeply than others, more deeply than the guardians of the universe, and more deeply than the monitors. This was because every moment, there was a death of the system host. All the memories of this universe converged and combined information, allowing Badi to have a clear understanding of his own universe. However, Badi knew very little about the outside of the universe. At this moment, after descending to Zeus' projection, he learned some of the peculiarities of the realm of God. Outside the multiverse is the realm of God, which is a place that can accommodate the only God. The multiverse cannot accommodate the only God. The concentration of the only God's information is something that the universe cannot bear, and it can easily burst the multiverse from the root at any time. Badi is now just trying to suppress his own power, so that it will not cause the appearance of a black hole, and cause the collapse of the universe. There are 9 parts in the realm of God. Apocalypse star, New Genesis star, Dream, Nightmare, Heaven, Hell, Celestial City, Hades, Limbo. All the terminal powers, the one God, are in the realm of God. Each part of it is a wider existence than the universe. For example, Apocalypse star, New Genesis star, etc. are multiple inner universes, which are wider and more powerful than the universe where Badi is now. Even God, his angel legions, Lucifer, Gabriel, etc. exist in heaven. In Celestial City, there are all the quasi-one God systems, the groups closest to the one God, and they can even fight against the one God and seal the one God. In Celestial City, including the homes of the old gods, the god of thunder, the god of light, the god of love, the god of war, the god of death, the Asgard pantheon, the Olympus pantheon, the Celtic pantheon, the Mayan gods, the Chinese heaven, Oceania, Mesopotamia, the Egyptian gods, the god of Krypton and the gods, Hebrew Bible, all of which have their own peaks. It is even more vast and boundless, supporting many quasi-unique god systems. The realm of God is a real and unfathomable realm. Badi's face was gloomy, and there was solemnity in his eyes. He, the newborn unique god, was afraid that once he stepped out of the multiverse, he would be wooed, killed, and sealed by all parties. Chapter 344 Hera. In an instant, Badi knew that, even if he conquered this universe, and absorbed all the information about himself, he would still be a weak existence. His enemies were no longer in the multiverse, but in the realm of God, the many gods. Just the 3 palaces in hell were enough to crush the current Badi. Although it was impossible to kill a unique god, the eternal seal was feasible, and had the same killing effect. Badi was undoubtedly very powerful, and he became even more powerful after eating dirt in the Speed Force. But this kind of power Compared with the countless epochs of the birth and destruction of the multiverse and the endless and infinite time of the unique god, Badi seemed much weaker. Originally, Badi planned to conquer this universe, bring this universe out to the realm of God, and make all the creatures in this universe become his subordinates, enough to gain a foothold in the realm of God, and become a force, and then slowly plan. With his own unique god ability, he will always evolve, and he will always become the top and most powerful group of people. Now it seems that everything in this universe is an ant. I'm afraid that they are not even qualified to compete with the quasi-unique god system and the Olympian god system. They are just like being worse than the weakest of the weak. If they are taken out of the god's domain, they will simply die. This is difficult. Badi chuckled. Of course, this is not a difficult problem. Basically, all the subordinates of the one god are the followers of the one god. They have the characteristics of the one god and are extremely powerful. Some followers can even become quasi-unique gods and gain the ability to temporarily compete with the one god. A typical example is the main monitor. He uses every hair and cell on his body to form countless positive monitors to monitor the multiverse. The monitor clan is not his followers at all, and there are also clans born from his followers. The development is so huge that it is shocking. Badi can also do this, using his own blood cells to give countless subordinates and create countless followers. However, it will take countless billions of years to form such a powerful clan as the Monitor clan. Of course, what is most needed now is not to create followers. Instead, it requires the derivative multiverse of this universe and the antimatter multiverse of this universe to be gathered together. This requires the anti-monitor to temporarily destroy the antimatter universe until the parallel universe of this universe is completely destroyed and becomes the last one. It can be refined by oneself and become the only one. Then one can cast a wide net system, quickly expand in other universes, find sources, spread systems, absorb information, and strengthen oneself. Only this period of time. Badi's face was gloomy. He is still Zeus now, sitting on the throne, thinking about future plans. Many unique gods and quasi-unique god systems have an agreement that no one can attack the multiverse or even enter the real body. They can only enter as projections to compete for the source. But Badi is directly in the multiverse in person. It can be said that other unique god projections are not his opponents. Only at this moment in the multiverse, if enough sources are obtained to strengthen oneself, and enough information is absorbed to strengthen oneself, can one be qualified to step out of the multiverse and occupy a seat in the realm of God. Otherwise, once he steps out of the multiverse and meets Sangong, he will immediately kneel. Zeus, it's time for us to appear in the world. Now that humans have been conquered, no one believes in us, making it difficult for our projection to recover. A noble woman entered the temple. She had the elegance and dignity of a queen, with beautiful curly hair cascading down from her crown, arms as white as lilies, and a peacock cloak, exuding fragrance. She was Hera, the projection of the real Hera. Badi came back to his senses slightly from his thoughts. He descended on the projection of Zeus, to fulfill an old wish, to see the real Hera. Among the many myths and legends, Badi's favorite was Hera. His artificial intelligence terminal, also called Hera, was actually created completely according to the image of Hera in the Olympus mythology. Now seeing the real person, her temperament is noble, elegant and dignified. Her skin is crystal white, beautiful, and elegant, and her every move is graceful and impeccable, which did not disappoint Badi. When other people talk about Hera, perhaps their first impression is that she is a woman with a strong sense of jealousy, a jealous and arrogant woman, and she is often known for harming many of Zeus' lovers and sons. In Badi's eyes, what he saw was Hera's loyalty to marriage, family and love. No matter how many lovers Zeus has, no matter how angry, jealous, and harming Zeus' lovers Hera is, she has never been unfaithful, even mentally. She has always been defending her family, marriage, and love. Apart from her love for Zeus, she has never had a fantasy love for other gods. This is something that no woman can do. Badi's eyes showed admiration, and he smiled and said, "Yes, call them all into the temple." Badi's admiring eyes and smile made Hera's eyes fixed. When did Zeus talk to her with such an admiring look and such a gentle smile like a spring breeze? This side of him is usually shown to many new lovers. As for herself, the Queen of Gods, in Hera's memory, it is hard to imagine that Zeus has this side. With a bit of strange doubt, she ordered the projections of other Olympian gods to come to the temple. The projections of the gods gathered in the temple. God King, I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to appear on Earth. I have observed that many forces have emerged on Earth, which poses a great threat to us. It is difficult for us to spread faith. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, wears winged sandals and holds a magic wand. He can fly around swiftly and has a very fast speed. After detecting the changes on Earth and the loss of faith, he reported and suggested, "They can't resist my bow. We should act prudently. Once this projection disappears, it will be our biggest loss. Yes, it is difficult for us to win in a universe and the projection survives intact. It's not time for us to reap the greatest benefits. I don't agree with appearing on Earth. We should continue to test." The main gods made suggestions one after another. Ares and Apollo, who are not afraid of war, support fighting. The more conservative Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship, and the god of love and wine, etc., suggest continuing to rest and not wasting energy unnecessarily. Badi pressed his hand lightly, and the gods were silent in an instant. He raised the thunder spear, and lightning flashed violently between the spears. Badi smiled faintly at Hera and nodded. "It's nice to see your projection. Next time, I hope to see your real body." Hera was stunned. The next moment, the thunder spear flashed with lightning, flooding the entire temple. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Other Universes. Emperor Building. The sun shines in from the French windows, and the light shines into the room, illuminating the vast space, the soft and expensive dark red carpet with gold edges, and the light reflects on the bar on the side, reflecting the bright red liquid in the glass bottle, which is like a gem, with a magnificent color. Badi opened his eyes slightly. His face was indifferent. His skin looked white and crystal in the sunlight, emitting a faint glow. He was already a god, flawless. His eyes were deep, as if spinning, swallowing up a galaxy, making it impossible to look directly at him. He was wearing an emperor's armor, with endless majesty and the dark gold, and an indifferent expression, dominating the universe. He sat on a seat as dark as obsidian, with dots like the stars in the universe, as if he was sitting on the entire universe. This was one of the several thrones that Hera and Raven had created again, after obtaining many magics, divine arts, and various strange scientific and technological researches from Badi, from the Guardian of the Universe and the entire universe. With the Emperor's armor, it can effectively limit the release of Badi's power again. Badi's fingertips gently touched the obsidian throne armrests. The fully covered Emperor armor showed a majestic and domineering aura. His divine power covered the universe. His fingertips were like dark and cold steel claws, gently touching the steel, and making a crisp ding-ding sound. He was simply the God King sitting on the universe. While he was thinking, the universe was changing, the galaxy was reversed, and the galaxy was destroyed. From the memories of the Guardian of the Universe and Zeus, he knew about the entire universe and part of the god's domain. Originally, Badi thought that he could at least go out to the universe and have a place to occupy this universe. At least he would have some power. However, he didn't expect that the water in the god's domain was too deep. The multiverse was so weak that Badi was shocked. If the only god really wanted to create a multiverse, he could destroy countless universes with a breath. The main monitors even dropped tens of millions of positive monitors from their hair and cells on their bodies, which was enough to send positive monitors to monitor the universe. It was like watching the multiverse without even exerting any strength. And it was hard to tell what kind of power his body had. Even if Sangang, who had a grudge against him, was not restricted by the so-called treaty, and could not enter the multiverse, he would have died long ago. Even Zeus, even if Badi went to the realm of gods now, facing the entire Olympus pantheon in Xiansheng, he might not be able to solve it, and he might even be sealed. The Olympus pantheon, as well as many other pantheons, survived in another different way of quasi-unique pantheon. They were not the only gods, but they had many quasi-unique gods who were connected together by the god system. Some of them were even stronger than the real only gods. Even the real only gods could hardly deal with them. To win over, then it should be, to win over me. Beta's eyes flickered in thought. When he descended on Zeus's projection, he learned that Zeus's body and the god realm sent information to the projection. When Beta descended on Zeus's projection, the projection was still wondering what he wanted to win over. Because there was indeed nothing in the multiverse that was worth winning over, and the multiverse was just the granary of many unique gods. It was not easy to send information from the god realm to the multiverse. These were two areas separated by the wall of the Speed Force. Even if the unique god could easily destroy it, it would be difficult to truly send information to the multiverse. Because the Speed Force would use the power of time to consume everything. Zeus was able to send information because he had a projection in the multiverse. Otherwise it would be difficult for Beta to understand his situation. Hera. Beta's spine was like a peak, sitting upright on the obsidian throne. The obsidian throne was dark, flickering with countless stars, as if Beta was sitting on the starry sky. A projection of Hera appeared. She was wearing a red evening gown with off-shoulder shoulders, revealing her white arms. Her face was peaceful, delicate and charming, and her eyes were filled with affection. She appeared in front of Badi, saluted Badi and smiled sweetly, saying, "Master, I'm here. Go in this direction, open up the space, and take Mount Olympus." Badi sent a coordinate to Hera. It was the space above the Greek city. The Olympian gods opened up a space here, which was the peak of Olympus on Earth. After Badi descended on Zeus and killed all the so-called 12 main gods, there was no ability to resist there, so it was just right to send Hera to deal with it. "Okay, Master." Hera saluted and replied, "Still here." Her multithreading had already started running, ready to dispatch high-tech space tools and the available legions to start executing Badi's orders. "Hera, list the things I need to do recently. I may need to go to other multiverses, conquer multiple universes, and strengthen myself before I can go out of the multiverse and step into the realm of God." Badi's face was majestic and indifferent, but in his heart, he was a little anxious to deal with the things here. He needed to descend to other multiverses, spread subsystems, occupy all other universes, make their universes the only universe, and then be refined by himself to gain power, rather than the parallel universe derived from this universe. Like other unique gods, he needs to find the legendary source, absorb a lot of his own information, and strengthen himself, before he can pull his cosmic power out into the realm of God. In the multiverse, Badi is invincible, but once he goes out of the multiverse, he may be suppressed, sealed, or even separated by other unique gods. The power will not make Badi lost. It is enough for Badi not to have power. Only when power and wisdom are combined can one be strong and do what he wants. Now, he needs to deal with all the things in this universe. Find the frequencies of other universes, descend into other universes, and strive to quickly make himself stronger. "Yes, Master." Hera lifted her skirt lightly, charming, with a sweet smile on her lips. Her white slender hands drew in front of Badi. Immediately, a projection screen appeared in front of Badi, listing the things Badi needed to know from the most important to the least important. Hera said beside him in a crisp voice, "The conspiracy of the positive monitor is being calculated by the Master, who will control and guide the anti-monitor to complete the uniqueness of this universe. The anti-monitor is paying attention. It is expected that in the near future, the anti-monitor will launch an operation to destroy the antimatter universe. We will arrange the universe and have it refined by the Master. By then, the parallel universe of this universe will be destroyed and become the only one that can be controlled by the Master. It is currently being observed. Multiple subsystems have constructed the star map of the universe. We just need to wait for the anti-monitor to take gradual action. The construction of the solar system cosmic network base station is currently being implemented by Brainiac and is expected to be completed in 17,000 years. The conquest army of the Cosmic Lantern Corps is accepting the OA star and starting sector conquest management to spread the Master's reputation throughout the universe. Badi nodded. There was no problem with these things. He just waited for the anti-monitor to destroy the many parallel universes and antimatter universes derived from this universe, making this universe the only one. By then, he would refine it himself and directly gain a lot of power. The positive monitor also thought so he did everything he could to guide the creation of the multiverse antimatter universe of this universe at the beginning of the universe, and then secretly paid attention to the antimatter universe, wanting the anti-monitor to destroy all antimatter universes. He also wanted to harvest this universe and become a positive monitor with the power of quasi-unique God, but unfortunately, he still doesn't know about the emergence of Badi, the only God, which is destined to be a tragedy. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind. It is unknown how much time it will take to descend to other universes. Badi wants to finish the things here before he will descend. Badi's eyes scanned the projected screen, which listed all the big and small things. He had given proper instructions and there would be no problem. Suddenly, his eyes flashed. On the screen, a name that was recorded 10 years ago was drawn. Jonathan Kent. Chapter 346 Hope Comes True. Jonathan Kent is Superman's adoptive father. He was supposed to be. But because of Badi's existence, 12 years ago, when the Earth and Jor-El were in dispute and fighting, Jor-El would rather sacrifice Superman's adoptive mother than miss a chance to let his son escape. In the end, he did not revoke the order, and Jonathan Kent's wife died in the superluminal vortex and was crushed to pieces. After the incident, Badi once said that he would let him follow him and serve him. When he was able to dominate the universe and reverse time, he would grant his wife's resurrection. Badi gave him hope. In the long 12 years, he held on to the only hope, so that he would not die with his wife. But, in fact, since he followed Badi's back that day, like following a little light of hope, he has never really seen Badi or face Badi. Sometimes, he would think, he must be stupid to believe that someone can reverse time and save his wife. But this was his only hope to survive. He always imagined that Badi's back was really a hope that could bring his wife back to life. In his heart, he kept this little bit of hope in mind. He was afraid that once such a great man as Badi said that he was powerless, then at that time, all his strength would turn into nothingness, and he would not have any strength to survive in this world again. He hoped that Badi would become strong enough to break through the universe, reverse time and space, and fulfill his humble wish to bring his wife back to life. For this, he would do anything. Diamond Moon. The moon was glowing with crystal fluorescence, magnificent and charming. There were always soldiers of the regiment, walking on patrol, and leading the new recruits. On the crystal surface of the moon, there were continuous lunar military bases, and square barracks built of steel. In a 2-room lieutenant level officer camp, the metal was cold and quiet, the items were placed in an orderly manner, and the air was filled with heavy silence and sadness. Jonathan Kent's face looked like a 30-year-old man. He had undergone genetic modification, and was already almost 40 years old. Now he looked only 30 years old, not much different from when Badi met him 12 years ago. At this moment, he sat on the grey bedding, with his back against the cold metal wall, his palm open, looking at the photo on the pocket watch with deep affection and painful longing. Inside was a color photo of his wife Martha, the wedding photo they had taken together. Almost every day, he missed, yearned, and painfully recalled his wife Martha while looking at the photo. If he had not taken in that baby, they would not be separated today. In his heart, he hated the white dog so much, the beast that sacrificed his wife and let his son escape no matter what. It was because he refused to stop no matter what, which led to Martha being crushed by the superluminal vortex. They were obviously kind-hearted, and took them in, so why did they do such a thing and let his wife die? Thinking of this, Jonathan Kent's sturdy body curled up, holding the pocket watch tightly in his hand, tears flowing from the corners of his eyes. Not long after, Kaya. The sound of the door opening came in. It was Jonathan's other second lieutenant roommate, Shanks. In an instant, Jonathan's tears turned into smoke and disappeared. His face was cold and his eyes were cold. He put away all his emotions and sadness. He straightened his curled body, got out of bed, put on his shoes and military uniform, and prepared to lead the patrol. Jonathan, go out quickly. General Lott is looking for you. Shanks looked tired, yawned, and couldn't lift his eyelids to look at Jonathan. After saying this, he didn't take off his shoes and lay directly on his bed and began to snore. Leading the patrol was not tiring, but after leading the patrol, he had to fight with a group of new recruits in the virtual battle room, which greatly consumed his spirit and made him very tired. Jonathan was about to ask General Ott what he wanted to talk to him about, but when he saw Shanks was already snoring, he didn't wake him up to ask. Jonathan went out directly. First he went to the camp room to adjust the patrol time and the virtual training time of the recruits. After that, he went to the main battle command room. Press harder, didn't you eat? On the way, a sergeant led the recruits to press an alien to the ground and rub the moon's surface. And that position was exactly where Mongo's guard spit. After Badi solved Mongo, General Ott directly pulled out this arrogant Mongo guard, pressed him on the moon, licked up the spit, and pressed him on the moon to rub. But this is not over yet. He was convicted of the crime of contempt for His Majesty, and General Ott, with Badi's permission, sentenced him to wash the earth with his face every day for 30 years. Every day, there were special soldiers pressing his face and rubbing him against the entire moon. Jonathan and several leading officers nodded, looked at the aliens who were still being pressed on the moon, and felt a little reluctant. Without saying much, he left here and went to the main battle room. Jonathan, unload your affairs and go back to Earth. His Majesty summons you. HMM. Jonathan was puzzled, and his heart almost jumped. He asked General Ott with a panicked heartbeat, but General Ott didn't know the details of this matter. He just knew that Jonathan needed to go back to Earth. Jonathan stepped onto the teleporter with a feeling of uneasiness, worry, fear, and panic. He thought about it almost every second. Is it because he is too ordinary and incompetent that he is not qualified to revive his wife? Although he has tried his best and used his ability to become a soldier and warrior under Badi, fighting in the Legion. But he is really ordinary, without special skills, special intelligence and ability. Even the position of second lieutenant is just a result of seniority. He has never done anything great for Badi, and he is not qualified to get anything. For a moment, Jonathan was panicked and extremely sad. When he was brought to Badi, his face was even more grief-stricken. He really didn't want to hear Badi say that he was too mediocre and didn't qualify to save his wife. Your Majesty. Jonathan bowed his head and knelt down, his body trembling, and his heart was extremely panicked. Badi's face was indifferent, and he couldn't help but flash a faint warmth when he looked at Jonathan kneeling down. Jonathan, you have served me for 12 years. However, you are mediocre and have no special skills. In the vast sea of people, you are just a small soldier. Both your superiors and what I have monitored show your mediocrity. I have hundreds of millions of people like you under my command. Jonathan's body trembled even more. This mediocre second lieutenant almost shed tears from his eyes and kowtowed heavily to Badi. Your Majesty, I can do anything you want, anything. Please don't give up on me and give up on resurrecting my wife. His tears, like beans, dripped on the ground, reflecting his sad and painful face. You think too much. I don't care about your mediocrity. I see your efforts and your faith in me. You still haven't given up hope. I have seen you, a mediocre person, fight for your life, sweat, break your limbs, and bleed under my command. Since you are willing to devote 12 years of loyalty and hard work, and believe in me desperately for this, then, your wife is waiting for you in the special ward number 35 of the Metropolitan Central Hospital. Jonathan's body was stiff, and he looked up with his eyes wide open, looking at the majestic face of Badi, which was crystal-like and glowing. In the dark gold cloak of the Emperor's armor, there was an endless domineering aura that was suffocating. At this moment, Badi smiled. In his eyes, he was like the reincarnation of God, which made the blood in his body explode crazily. Don't worry, this is real. Your wife is not some genetic creation with a similar appearance. Your wish has come true. Chapter 347 Gotham. Gotham. The night sky of Gotham always seems to have lead-like dark clouds brewing in the sky, constantly flashing a silver-white light from the inside, illuminating the entire dark Gotham. The weird Gothic buildings stand tall, flashing colorful building signs. Under the surface glitz, the dark alleys are filled with filth. The wind is a little cool, blowing past, bringing a drizzle. The dark clouds flashed with thunder, but it only drizzled. In the weird gothic buildings, the signs on the top flashed light, accompanied by lightning covered by thick dark clouds in the sky, and the misty rain that was hazy in the light gradually blew down diagonally with a unique romantic and poetic feeling. There is also a sense of sadness in the picture. Gotham, from the beginning, has been very desolate and sad. Tap, tap, tap. People in the city, including office workers holding briefcases, prostitutes holding cheap bags, and people who were caught off guard and passing by, began to walk quickly, splashing the small puddles on the roadside, splashing dead leaves and a few dirty water drops, splashing the trousers at their feet, and they ran to the eaves and supermarkets to take shelter from the rain. Inadvertently, they stepped on the dirty Gotham Daily, Evening News, and many tabloids on the roadside today. The ground was messy with various newspapers sticking to the ground under the drizzle. A whole big, playful face was hung on the main page. Bruce Wayne, the playboy of the Wayne Group, was on the page bigger than ever before. What was extremely unexpected was that he was not on the page of Playboy magazine, but on several extremely serious newspapers. Bruce is Batman. The legendary Gotham ghost story. Urban legend. Is it Bruce, the playboy of Wayne Group? The dark bat flying in the sky at night. Could it be the playboy of Wayne Group? Rather than sleeping with a female star, does he prefer flying in the dark? This Dark Knight is the playboy of Wayne Group, Bruce in disguise. The explosive true identity of Batman. Bruce Wayne, a man with a strange mystery from this moment on. Click. A flash of lightning suddenly flashed in the sky, reflecting the whole Gotham pale, flashing a pale desolate, with drizzling rain. The whole Gotham seemed to exude a speechless cruelty. At this time, in the sky, a black shadow with wings spread, a small black dot glided, and flew in the sky with open arms. Under the pale light of this lightning, the dark bat figure was reflected, circling towards the building of Wayne Group and disappearing. All this seemed like an illusion. Look, Batman. It's Bruce Wayne. A young man stared at the towering Wayne Enterprises with fiery eyes, pointed at the place where the black spot disappeared, and said excitedly with his eyes wide open. However, when others looked up at the Wayne Group building, and the top of the building, they only saw the ferocious gargoyles facing them from all directions, standing on the high building of the Wayne building, guarding the building. There was no Batman. Where is the Batman? You're seeing things. Oh. Bruce, the playboy, is Batman. I don't believe these sensational newspaper reports that only catch the eye. In order to increase sales, newspapers have tried every possible means. Even a symbol can't make people believe it. Why can't Batman be Bruce? How can this playboy be so boring? The last time I saw him, he was on the cover of the 58th issue of Playboy. My favorite actress Jenny spent a night with him. That's not a reason. That doesn't prove that Bruce Wayne is not Batman. There is no evidence to prove that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Newspapers all over the city are saying it. In no less than 4 previous issues, the Gotham Evening Post and other newspapers have listed all the people from the Elliott family, the Kane family, and the Cobblepot family who meet the identity and figure. Now it's just the Wayne family. Haha, it just makes up the 4 major families in Gotham. I believe Bruce Wayne is Batman. Young man, wake up. Rich people are not so boring. This damn weather, if I had money, I would hook up with 2 celebrities and have sex in a warm bed. Bruce Wayne would not be so bored that he would become a black bat running on the subway tracks and gliding in the sky. The corruption of the rich and the life they enjoy are beyond your imagination. Damn, so sad, so envious. We are taking shelter here after get off work. The cold wind is biting, and our dicks are frozen soft, while others are already hugging their secretaries and female celebrities in bed, their blood boiling. Why? Life is so unfair. I'm so jealous of Bruce Wayne. He has reached the end of his life, since he was born. All that is left is to enjoy this world and the beauty of capitalism. He has enjoyed everything in the world. Maybe it is because he has enjoyed everything in the world that he became Batman, the Dark Knight, and the embodiment of evil. Maybe he has the determination to guard Gotham and purify Gotham. Isn't he one of the 4 big families? Gotham City was originally established by these 4 families. Maybe he is just guarding his own city. It must be like this. Batman is guarding his own city. He must have relied on his righteous heart to change Gotham. So he transformed into Batman, became the Dark Knight, and fought crime in the dark. Young people are all passionate, but when you have money and enjoy what you should enjoy, you will understand. Under the eaves, the young man who just said he saw Batman was angry and his face was red. The ladies around him who were wearing suits or brightly dressed rarely agreed with his point of view. Only a few people around him who were also young people kept arguing with these social people. However, in the end, these young people were always looked down upon. These social people shook their heads and sighed, as if they had seen through all the filth, and lightly mocked a group of passionate young people. Even when the young people were about to raise their fists and beat up these hateful social people. Bang, bang, bang. There was a burst of machine gun fire, flames erupted into the sky, and a burst of dazzling light. What are you arguing about? Back against the wall, raise your hands, and take out all your money. Several men in black with red hoods raised machine guns and walked towards them. Fuck you. The young man, who was already arguing to the point of anger, pulled out the pistol he carried from his waist and shot directly at the Red Hood, who was coming over. In Gotham, dare to walk at night without a few guns? Almost everyone around him, without any prior agreement, pulled out pistols from their briefcases and from their skirts. The supermarket owner quickly raised the shotgun under the counter and shot without mercy. The place instantly turned into a fierce gun battle between the robbers and the robbed. The thick smoke and gunpowder rose, and in the misty drizzle and darkness, dazzling gunfire was lit up. Chapter 348 I'm Batman. Gotham. Wayne Building. The misty rain was falling from the sky. In the thick clouds above, the rapt thunder was flickering continuously, like a quilt wrapped around a light bulb, flickering and emitting bright light. Crack. A lightning bolt unexpectedly struck out from the clouds, reflecting the pale scene of the entire Gotham. It also reflected a thin figure above the Wayne Building. He was wearing a purple long tuxedo and pants, white gloves on his hands. His face was painted pale like dye, and his lips were painted pale red. It was unknown whether it was because of the blood from the torn corner of his mouth or the color of lipstick. His wild green hair reflected his crazy eyes. The Joker stepped on ahead of the gargoyle, and the wind blew wildly, blowing the back of his purple tuxedo constantly. He faced the cold stings of the misty rain on his face, and showed a crazy smile. This scene, after the sudden appearance of the lightning, seemed thrilling and crazy. He was standing on the thin gargoyle in Wayne Building, which was more than 100 meters above the ground. His thin figure was facing the strong wind, and his purple tuxedo was rustling, as if he was about to fall at any time. In a flash of pale lightning, on the other side of Wayne Building, a black figure opened his arms and hovered in the drizzle, at an extremely good angle. Batman had a grappling gun in his hand, and he shot at the top of Wayne Building, which he was more familiar with than anyone else, and shot the grappling hook at another gargoyle. The grappling hook with a rope hooked the gargoyle's arm. Batman quickly pressed another switch on the grappling gun, and the gun pulled back the grappling rope. Through the reaction force, Batman was automatically like a display shed, and outlined a rapid and amazing arc trajectory in the sky. Batman stood on the gargoyle, and in the drizzle, his cape was rustling, and he stared at the Joker from a distance. I've been waiting for you for a long time, little bat. The Joker put his right hand on the knee of the right leg that was stepping on the gargoyle, letting the drizzle and cold wind blow on his face. The split purple tuxedo fluttered behind him. He grinned at Batman and said with a teasing look in his eyes, thinking of something fun. You should know that, even if my true identity is revealed, I have countless ways to make Bruce Wayne still Bruce Wayne. Batman spoke calmly, looking at the Joker with a heavy eye, to prevent accidents. You can't run away, Joker. The wind was blowing, and behind the two people, the purple windbreaker and black bat cape were constantly fluttering. The Joker suddenly stood at attention, opened his hands, stared in the wind and rain. His face was serious, and his mouth was closed. Even with such a serious look, he still gave people a kind of teasing madness. You're right, little bat, I choose death. The game begins. The Joker grinned, and his body naturally fell backwards. Even though Batman had been keeping an eye on the Joker's behavior, he was unable to stop the Joker from falling backwards. The location of the Wayne Building's gargoyle was more than 300 meters above the ground. Any ordinary person who fell from this height would be smashed into a pulp. As the Joker fell backwards, Batman still saw the Joker's playful and amused expression. Anyone could fall to death from such a high altitude. But the Joker wouldn't. When Batman rushed to the gargoyle that the Joker was standing on, the Joker had already fallen more than half the distance with his eyes closed. Then, his purple tuxedo seemed to turn into wings on his back and began to hover downwards. Then, a small parachute extended out to reduce the impact force, and he flew directly towards a clown car. When the Joker landed safely, he turned his head mischievously, put his index and middle fingers in his temples and popped them out, saluted Batman, and then drove the clown car away from Wayne Building. Even though Batman told Alfred to track the vehicle and the communicator, he still couldn't track the Joker's whereabouts. After searching Gotham for a long time, Batman returned to Wayne Manor in the middle of the night, pushed open the big clock, and entered the Batcave. Batman took off the bat helmet heavily, shook off the water droplets that had seeped into his chin and neck due to the drizzle, and sat heavily on the monitoring position to check the monitoring. "Master, you have a press conference tomorrow to clear Batman's true identity." Alfred came to Bruce with a bowl of warm ginger soup and said. Batman stared at the screen without moving his eyes, trying to find the location of the Joker through clues. He said without turning his head, "Alfred, I'm not free. The Joker is planning something. It's obvious that he wants to delay my time. You handle it for me. You must be free, sir. The whole Gotham is rioting because of this matter. If you don't want Wayne Building to be blown up by Batman's many former enemies, please take out 10 minutes to make a light press conference to clarify. It only takes 10 minutes. Alfred stood upright at the waist, wearing a bow tie and a tuxedo, with the style of an English butler. "You need to calm down the social unrest." Alfred added a sentence. "The recent few days have been really noisy, a bit big, and Bruce Wayne needs to come forward to express it anyway." Bruce paused as he looked at the surveillance camera, frowning slightly. 10 minutes? Yeah. Okay, and also find me the information of the Joker's surviving subordinates in the past. The next day, Wayne Building, Conference Center. This place was filled with reporters from all over Gotham, including the Gotham Daily, Gotham Evening, Gotham Weekend, People's City, Gossip Magazine, Playboy, and even the education news, military news, student news, academic news, financial news, agricultural news, and tourism news. All of these newspapers that emerged from nowhere sent first-class reporters to attend this press conference. Not only that, even the Midtown Daily, which was far away in Central City, sent a beautiful reporter to come, not to mention the Metropolis on the other side of Gotham. The Metropolis Daily also sent an honest and dull male reporter to come. It is conceivable that the topic of Bruce Wayne being Batman is so explosive and shocking that they are always eager to dig out the inside story of this matter. Is it true, false, or is there something being covered up? Almost every reporter smelled an exciting report. Now, Bruce Wayne is going to make a statement. Alfred made way for the podium. Bruce Wayne, wearing a well-dressed suit, entered the venue with a whistle and eyebrows raised. He kept glancing at the female reporters who stood up from their seats because of his entry. The reporters kept taking pictures of him with their cameras. In just a short distance of more than 10 meters, Bruce performed no less than dozens of poses for the reporters to take pictures of, and teased some of the female reporters lightly, performing a Playboy to the fullest. When he walked to the podium, he faced many reporters and began to speak. "I have forgotten when the last press conference was. I'd better read the manuscript given to me by this old man." Bruce straightened his shoulders and said helplessly, taking out the manuscript prepared by Alfred from his pocket. "Some people suspect that I'm Batman, the Dark Knight who haunts the night. Think that I have been fighting against the dark forces of Gotham." Bruce had not finished speaking. A female reporter raised her hand with a sharp look and interrupted directly. "Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Wayne. Do you think we will buy your story? Based on your height, it is almost 100% restored. I have checked every female star who spent the night with you and found out the amazing fact, Mr. Wayne, you have good physical strength, too good. Of course you can question the statement of Wayne Enterprises. Thank you for your affirmation of my sexual ability, but don't make random accusations and insinuate that I'm a bat. I never said you are Batman. No? It does sound a bit sci-fi. I'm not a superhero. If I were Batman, I would definitely use his ability to hunt for beauties everywhere. How can I be a superhero? I have so many personality defects. Suddenly, Bruce blinked, and he scanned the reporters in the audience with a scrutinizing look. Alfred, who was beside him, leaned close to his ear and reminded him, "Follow the manuscript." Bruce picked up the manuscript in his hand, glanced at it, and said, "Actually." He paused, stared at the manuscript, and suddenly put it down. "I'm Batman." Chapter 349, Rich. Wow. In an instant, the scene was explosive. The reporters who were originally sitting on the chairs were taking notes, and began to record how Bruce Wayne was going to start his quibbling. They had already thought it through. They caught every gap in Bruce Wayne's words, tried their best to speculate, figure out the ambiguity of every word, and wrote a conclusive news report with their thoughts. Now there was no need. The whole scene was stunned for a moment, and then rioted. The reporters stood up from the tables and chairs. The female reporters who were originally very graceful crossed their legs, but now they were no longer calm. They stood up in shock, leaned forward, and kept extending the microphone forward, even if it was just a little bit forward to face Bruce Wayne. The flashlights at the scene kept flashing, and the silver-white light kept flashing. "Excuse me, is this true? Mr. Wayne, how do you feel about the identity of Batman in the night? Excuse me, Batman, is this another joke of yours? Excuse me, why did you become Batman? Does Batman satisfy your bad taste? There are images showing that Batman once had a Batmobile and a Batplane. Can you let us see them? Is it a joke to openly challenge Gotham's law enforcement agencies, Mr. Batman? Excuse me, how will you deal with the Gotham underworld forces in the future, Batman? Will you go out again tonight?" In an instant, many reporters swarmed up, and the microphones were almost stuffed into Batty's face. Not to mention the shock of the reporters. Even Bruce's butler, Alfred, was shocked. "Master, this is not a good joke." After Batty was about to speak again, Alfred directly intervened, blocked the reporter's microphone, and ordered the bodyguards present to isolate the reporters one after another, and then ended the entire press conference. The whole press conference shocked the world. Alfred secretly wiped his sweat. The master didn't tell him such a thing. Even though he knew that his master was very smart and had various plans in mind, he couldn't help but step out to stop him from talking. There were too many things involved. Gotham Group's stocks, the government, even the military, Gotham City government, city councilors, a series of reactions, and even revenge from Gotham's gangs. You know, Gotham's gangs have probably been beaten by Batman, and revenge is simply normal. He was not worried about his master, but the personal safety of Wayne Enterprises employees. Alfred was already having a headache. "Dear journalists, today's press conference ends here. We will announce the relevant news later." After Alfred finished speaking, he escorted Batty away on a road, opened up by the bodyguards. Alfred's old body was still strong. The habits left over from the British agents in the early years and the constant exercise enabled him to deal with anything effectively and quickly. Before leaving the conference room, Alfred said helplessly in Batty's ear, "Master, I didn't receive your plan to admit that you are Batman. You know, you are not a joker." Batty smiled faintly, and he and Alfred walked towards the elevator along the marble floor that reflected the shadows of people. Plans are changing all the time, Alfred, and accidents can happen at any time. Batty pulled the sides of his suit chest, and he looked at the glass wall of the passage next to him, reflecting Bruce's strong body, close-fitting suit, sharp and tough appearance, and a calm and steady feeling. "Just looking at this appearance, he is a mature man worthy of trust. Then please let me know, sir. My old heart can't stand the scare." "Sorry, Alfred, I'll tell you next. Contact the Elliot family, the Kane family, and the Cobblepot family in Gotham for me. I'm going to invite their leaders to dinner tomorrow night to discuss the future of Gotham. In addition, Wayne's innovative network technology application department must be separated for me. I need to make something new. I will issue a plan to the military industry weapons department. Other matters will be put on hold for now, and they will be manufactured according to my plan. I need senior members of the US military to contact the Admirals Conference and tell them that I have a batch of weapons to discuss with them. They will like it. Contact the mayor of Gotham The Gotham Police Department. Forget it. It's too corrupt here. I will use the US Congress to carry out a city-wide prism to improve the Crime City plan. Is this mayor a supporter of our Wayne Group? That's just right. Gordon is still a deputy director. We are supporting him and need to promote him to director as soon as possible. Finally, Alfred, I need a group of mercenaries, the best and most sophisticated, about 1,000 people. My current personal assets are about 7.6 billion US dollars. I can squander them and invest them in this Gotham reform. Badi walked into the elevator calmly. That's all for now. Alfred was a little dizzy. Although he remembered what Badi said. Master, what are you going to do? Alfred followed Badi into the elevator and asked with a shocked expression. He smelled a hint of something unusual. It seemed that the master was going to make an unprecedented reform. Just investing all his personal assets in what he said would be enough to change a lot. Not to mention, the master also has many shares in Wayne Enterprises, and his various industries and real estate are more than 100 billion US dollars. For a while, it was difficult to estimate his assets. You have to know from Badi's arrival that it is only around 2000. Far from the future 2018, when money is expanding and billionaires are emerging endlessly. It is conceivable that Bruce's superpower is to be rich, not just talk. Unfortunately, Badi didn't care about this little money because he was richer than Bruce and had a bigger territory, so he looked down on the little money. Gotham is sick and it needs to be treated seriously, Badi said calmly. The elevator door slowly closed, and the bright steel plate reflected Bruce's mature and steady face, with calm eyes. Alfred behind him frowned slightly, and was beginning to plan, think, and listen to his master's words. Suddenly, when the elevator door was about to close, a pair of big hands crossed and inserted into the elevator door that was about to close. The elevator seemed to be gently moved by the big hands, and the feet trembled and shook. The elevator door, which was left a crack, chirped, and was pushed open by the big hands faster than the door could open when it sensed an object. A man with a black glasses frame and a dull look, with a few strands of hair messed up by running, and a Metropolitan Daily Reporter badge on his chest, seemed to push the elevator door open with great effort, and raised his head as the bodyguards behind him pulled him. Chapter 350 Clark Kent. In this universe, Batman and Superman have not met, known each other, or become good partners. But Batman has many records of saving people related to Superman, and is closely looking for Superman's weaknesses, and trying to find Superman's true identity. The reporter of Metropolitan Daily in front of Badi is Clark Kent, Superman, not from the press card, but Badi can tell at a glance. He has powerful strength, and the resolute eyes hidden under the lens are as clear and bright as the ocean, beautiful and kind. Mr. Wayne, Batman has caused a lot of panic in Gotham. The people don't actually believe in Batman. They are more afraid. Are you really Batman? Clark looked anxious. Behind him, several bodyguards were guarding him, but his body did not move. He leaned his upper body into the elevator, but his eyes were firmly looking at Badi, waiting for Badi to respond. Yes, Badi answered, and gently fanned Clark with his hand in front of him, indicating that he should leave the elevator quickly and not hinder him. That look is just like an impatient rich man waving his hands, feeling helpless. Poor people, please go away. Don't stop me from taking the elevator and absorbing the oxygen that belongs to the rich. Batman has no interest in Clark and Superman. He is now in the body of Batman. In Batman's wish, there is no plan to be gay with Clark. At most, it is another third-level wish to find Superman's real body, understand Superman's weaknesses, and restrain Superman. This is similar to many other third-level wishes, to find the identity of the Flash, and study the technology to restrain the Flash. Find the true identity of Green Lantern, and study something to restrain Green Lantern. Find the true identity of Shazam, and then plan to study something to restrain him. There are also all kinds of heroes or villains such as Wonder Woman, Constantine, Martian Manhunter, Madame Xanadu, etc., all recorded by Batman in the little notebook, to restrain them one by one, to prepare for a rainy day. At the moment Batman descended, the knowledge he had already fulfilled this wish. Therefore, he actually didn't like Superman getting in his way. Do you still be Batman? Clark was still asking that the bodyguard with more than 3 waists behind him was more than 3 waists and muscles. Mood. Badi helplessly. He never achieved the Superman here. From their 3 views. Otherwise it will be a trouble. Please stop what you are doing, sir. Batman cannot appear. He only brings fear and no benefit to Gotham. Clark spoke righteously, with a dignified and upright face. Before coming to the Wayne Building press conference, he had already walked through Gotham and kept investigating the impressions of the people of the city on Batman. Most of them were trembling with fear, and some were brutally beaten by Batman, and some were even frightened when they heard about Batman. Arkham also has many mentally ill prisoners who have been beaten by Batman. It seems that the whole Gotham is shrouded in this Batman who brings fear to Gotham in the name of justice. Of course, it is difficult for Clark to see the past in the human heart. He asked all the half-black and half-white gangsters. As for ordinary people, Batman, they have never seen him, but only heard of this rumor. Batman will not look for ordinary people at all. And in Gotham, who is in the gangsters, and doesn't panic and tremble when he hears Batman. The most feared thing when transporting drugs is that Batman will flash out. When kidnapping women and children, the most fearful thing is Batman falling from the sky. When cutting and selling organs, if Batman appears, it's over. Their limbs are broken, and some are blind. They have to spend their whole lives in the hospital. That hospital is still Wayne Enterprises. In Gotham, there are only a few extremely smart eccentrics who are capable of resisting Batman. They are sent to Arkham one after another. How can ordinary gangsters not be afraid? Batman is Batman now. He knows Batman better than anyone else. He knows better than anyone else what this guy who always prepares for a rainy day has done for Gotham. In the name of Batman, the Dark Knight, questioning his behavior towards Gotham is questioning Batman. He is Batman, and at this moment, he is also Batman. Even Superman cannot question Batman's efforts. Batman took a step forward, his face tough and steady, with a solemn and murderous aura, and looked at Clark. The air was quiet and dead. It seemed that the solemnity could be felt. A heavy breath, as if emanating from Bruce, weighed down everyone's heart like a mountain. Clark Kent, go back to the Daily Planet. It's not your turn to tell me what to do. Batman spoke in a sonorous and cold tone, with a calm face, solemn and angry. Superman at this time did not fully understand Batman, and Batman would not want Superman to understand him. He was never a likable character. He only needed to complete Batman's last wish. Any obstacles and understanding would be troublesome. Only when Batman completed Batman's last wish, which occupied 70%, could he truly absorb Batman's own information, so that his subsystem could be generated in this universe, spread, occupy the entire universe, complete the information plunder of the entire universe, and strengthen himself. Batman's last wish was to create a bright Gotham and save Gotham from sin. As Batman, this is what he is about to do. Clark was furious, clenching his fists violently, as if a strong airflow exploded, and a thick artery suddenly burst out of his neck. Under the black-framed honest glasses, the bright blue eyes became extremely tight and terrifying. Badi said this, which proved that he had not given up the identity of Batman, and would continue to play with the whole Gotham as Batman and spread terror throughout Gotham. Clark's neck was bulging with blue veins, and he wanted to beat this Batman severely, but he was finally aware of his own strength, and would kill this Batman, so he just glared at him, and didn't really hit him. Badi was cold and angry, and he also looked at Clark fearlessly. It seemed that the air was rubbing out anger, and the sparks of fighting were suffocating. The two glared at each other, as if they would fight in the next moment. Clark suddenly let go, and several bodyguards who were holding him staggered here and there. He walked back violently, leaving behind a back figure, and left here. I will find someone who can tell you what to do. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.